Welcome back, Martini Giant fans. This is episode number 140, which is our birthday special. Yes, we recorded this back at the end of March and beginning of April, which is Dan and I's birthday, and we'd like to do our little guilty pleasures films, as we call them. These are films that might get us canceled because honestly, they could be considered fairly offensive today. But decided we're going to do it anyway. So what are these films? The first one is from 1974. It is, the English title is Going Places. The French title is Les Voiseurs. And it's by Bertrand Blier, and it's starring Gérard Depardieu, Patrick Denoir, and Miu Miu. Interesting comedy. Could be seen as very misogynistic in some ways, but I will definitely, we'll talk about that in the podcast for sure. And we paired that with Dan's choice, which was Eureka from 1983, directed by Nicholas Roeg and starring Gene Hackman, Teresa Russell, and Rutger Hauer. Wild film. I had never seen, most people have never seen it. Both of these films, by the way, were available on Tubi, which is one of the other things that we thought in common here. These are films that are almost impossible to find because no one has ever wanted to make these films out there again. People would rather just sweep these under the rug. But somehow Tubi had them out there. We've become kind of a little bit of a fan of Tubi because even though it's filled with crap, there are these hidden weird gems that probably would never be seen any other place. And it is ad-supported, which is fine, but it's free also, so that's also interesting. Yes, so our little indulgence in these films, and like we said, guilty pleasures, pretty cool films to talk about. Okay, a couple other announcements. Just to give you some ideas on the progress of our special project that I've been telling you guys about. We are, in fact, working very hard on it. We're in the middle of post-production, working really hard to sort of go to the finish line. We're expecting to finish in a couple of months. Not much more I can tell you beyond that, except that it's looking really good, and we're very excited about it. So we'll keep you posted as things go on. There's also, I'll let you guys know, we are going to record a new episode. We were going to do it on Sunday, May 12th. We just realized it's Mother's Day. We might still do it on that day if we're allowed to do it on that day, shall we say. But anyway, we will be talking about two films. And probably not the greatest Mother's Day movies, but we decided we wanted to do Iron Claw, which came out in 2023, a movie that neither of us had seen, but we were very interested in it. And we decided to pair that with Raging Bull because that's also, one's about wrestling, one's about boxing, but also Iron Claw and Raging Bull just sound like a pretty good combination to talk about. So that's the plan. Like we said, we might record it on Sunday. If not, we'll record it soon after that. But just follow us on Discord and we'll get you more updated on that as well. So, but that's the plan anyway. All right, but for now, please enjoy Going Places and Eureka.
I gotta say, when the movie ended on Tubi, there were so many other good movies. I felt like plowing through some new ones.
Oh God, I watch
wait
nothing
a minute,
but
how do
Tubi.
they have great movies?
So my goal, first of all, we should also note that this is our birthday special.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And so the movies that we are showing here are movies that you really can't find anywhere. I've been trying to find Going Places, which is hard to find for very good reason. Going Places is hard to find.
Yes, very much so.
But it was available on Tubi, and so my great resource for finding great stuff on Tubi is Daniel Throne. Who has the patience to wade through.
Tubi has so much garbage that you really do have to work.
It's not patience of Job anymore. It's the patience of Tubi. It's the patience of Tubi.
Every week I spend about 40 minutes combing through Tubi for what's out there. Right. And there's always something completely amazing that I'm shocked
but
that
you have to look through it. You have to go.
You do have to look through it.
It's like going through a really overfilled thrift store.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
You're
Tubi is the thrift
postcards
store.
behind a fur jacket
Yeah.
right? That's like
Oh my
tags.
God,
on a
this is a
mannequin.
signed autograph by Dennis
Oh my God,
Quaid.
is that Mickey Mantle?
That's right. It's insane. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. But like, it's phenomenal because I mean, you have to put up with ads and such. Many of the copies of the films are a little, they're a little, like sub VHS. But if you've been looking for a movie for a couple of decades, the place you're likely going to find it is on Tubi. This is not. By the way, we're not sponsored by Tubi. This is just pure enthusiasm for being able to find movies that.
But we've done this for other streaming networks too. We've talked about Canopy. We've talked about
absolutely.
Other places. Which, by the way, Canopy ad free. Thank you, tax dollars.
$5 a month though.
Yep. Yeah.
What?
Like that,
$5 a month.
yeah, they limit it.
No, Canopy.
Like,
5 movies. Used to be
5
10
movies per month. Yeah, I think they dialed it down.
All right, that's fine.
They're getting pressure from streamers, but it's okay. It's still a good deal. It's still a perfectly good deal.
Did you hear the deal that Facebook did?
What's that?
Netflix. Facebook wanted to make their own streaming network. They got pressure from Netflix to not do that.
Oh man!
And Netflix offered to buy people's profiles from Amazon, from Facebook.
That's
instead.
Weird. That's
to pay them $200 million a year to buy your DMs and profiles.
Oh my God, that's weird. Now, doesn't that make you feel a little dirty now?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is
where no. Don't start a competing network. We'll pay you $200 million for data.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what this game's
We're
all about.
All commodity, man.
Yeah, it's all about. Because the thing is we've talked about it before. Like nobody cares about privacy anymore. I get it.
No.
Because we're all just numb to it. We're just like, yeah, fine. There's cameras everywhere. Everything is recorded. Blah blah blah. That's the way it is. It's fine.
Sure.
But like my phone is recording me, whatever is happening. But now in the age of data, and more importantly, how that data will be used by upcoming AI, it's radical how much it will dominate your life and our lives. Yeah. Like really, really, really intensely. And without you even knowing anymore. Because the reason what they're going to do with all that data is they're going to craft.
They're going to sell you more ads.
They're going to sell you more shit, even more sneakily. Yeah. It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Okay. These two movies, we're just going to drive it real quick, and then I'll let you decide which. I don't care. Well, you know what? We'll let Eric decide which one movie to do first.
Yeah, first of all, I feel bad that Eric doesn't get his own birthday show. We have to rectify that. Yeah, yes. Because we always get a birthday show because our birthdays are so close together.
Yes.
But when is your birthday, Eric?
July 1st.
Okay, so we have to make the
New York University
the Independence Day / Eric's birthday.
Closer
special
mic,
feature.
Eric. Closer mic.
Yeah.
Closer mic?
Your mic needs to be close. There you go. Yes. So Eric's birthday needs to be celebrated. But
yes,
the first movie, one of the movies is Les Walseurs, also known as Going Places, the American title.
Going Places. Now, we've covered another movie by the same director.
Called Get Out Your Handkerchiefs.
There was a different name for it based on a book?
No, Les Walseurs is a found out from one of another listeners of the show, Bernie from Berlin, Bertrand Benoit.
These testicles.
He told us that Les Walseurs is actually a oldish French slang word for two testicles that are dancing together.
Yeah, exactly. They're waltzing around.
That was the name of the original thing, but it's based on a book called that.
It might be based on a book.
It is. It's interesting. Just Wikipedia it.
Yeah.
But the other movie we covered, which we also, I believe, recommend.
I think it really is. And it was something about the testicles or something.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so the other movie by the same director is Get Out Your Handkerchiefs, which is equally offensive, I would say. And if you're not bothered by that,
offensive,
go for it. It's great.
Could be considered offensive.
I think that's a fair thing to say.
There's that time period, 1974. This was refreshing.
I would say, yeah, it is. It's refreshing to me today. I would say that both of these movies we're covering today are movies that might not fly with audiences today.
How strange is that
So
it will
go
not
into
fly
it
today?
with that in mind. Whatever you want to say. There it is.
Les Walseurs could be. might be considered by some one of the most misogynistic films around.
Could be. I don't think so. I actually don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. I think that these movies are challenging and
by the way,
intense, but yes.
By the way,
that's fun.
The working title for the film when they were shooting it was called Buffalo 66.
Yeah. I was going to say.
See, now, you're originally saying that this is...
It's very hard for me to defend this film and then say how much I think Buffalo 66 is a shitty movie. I think this is
about... Like, the thing is, what's funny is that you were saying that this is your Buffalo 66. The only problem is...
No, it's not. It really is Buffalo 66.
I know.
Yeah, that girl was Christina Ricci.
Yes, it was.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's totally Buffalo 66. Like, the thing is, okay, before we get into it, like, first of all,
I also call it Y tu mamá también.
It is much closer to Y tu mamá también. Yeah. I think that's true. But, like, the reason why I say this can't be your Buffalo 66 is that, like, Eric, did you like this movie?
Yes.
I loved it, and we all liked it. So, like, it's not like Buffalo 66 where you hated it, and we love Buffalo 66.
It's crazy to think that he hated Buffalo 66.
It's understandable to hate Buffalo 66. I would understand for anybody to hate Buffalo 66.
What's really funny is that talking to our friend Richard, and who's a cinematographer, and we talk about movies with him all the time, and when we mentioned Buffalo 66, and he looked at me like, "Oh, I hate that movie." And I said, "Yeah, I get it," because we were talking about a slow motion shot that we were looking at doing in this project we were working on, and I said, "Oh, it's like Buffalo 66," and he's like, "Oh, I don't like that movie." And then I talked about,
I'm like, I love that movie.
I talked about Les Walseurs, and he says, "Oh, right, the movie with Miu Miu." I said, "Yes," and he goes,
"It's great.
You have to be careful who you recommend that movie to." He goes, "Yes, I agree."
Like, now I will say that the chances of, I mean, I hate to be so general of audiences today, from me on my fucking lawn, get out of here. But, like, audiences today, like, the chances of them being offended by Buffalo 66 are pretty high. The chances of them being offended by Going Places are extremely high. Like, extremely high.
Yes.
Like, it is, like, Buffalo 66, you can
it's
be like,
just a little bit of raping.
Yeah, it's like, it is. This is a not for everyone movie. That's just the way it is. That's the way it is. And if you're up for the challenge, it's a very, very charming.
We like
movie.
to see these movies that we do for our birthdays as our indulgences and letting us do.
I think we should. Like, I don't believe in guilty pleasures. I believe whatever is your pleasure is your pleasure. It's fun.
I do feel a little guilt for liking this movie, though.
But there is, like, this is definitely. These two movies are complicated movies to have relationships with because we'll say about Going
Eureka.
Places. Going Places is definitely touchy subject stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And Eureka is a crazy, arguably terrible mess. Yes. So, but that doesn't mean that these movies are worthy of love from our points of view.
Okay, Les Walseurs is hard to watch because it makes you feel bad.
Yeah,
Eureka
but it's
very hard to watch because.
You didn't see the pure comedy of the whole thing?
Of course I did. Of course I did. I absolutely do. I said you might feel bad for watching Eureka. Yes. Eureka, you might feel bad because you're confused as to what the fuck is going on.
What the fuck is happening? And you're just like, did people who are professional make this movie? Like, what is happening?
Who wrote this?
Exactly. But that's we'll get to that one. But with this one, you can say that this is an extremely well made movie with great acting. Like, it's
in Les Walseurs.
Absolutely true.
Yes,
I can't say that about
Eureka.
Eureka, though
there are some extraordinary things in Eureka which we can get to.
Stuff.
Yes, we'll get to Eureka. Let's do this one first.
Okay. So very young Depardieu, and then Patrick, what's his name?
He killed himself.
Yeah,
he did. Oh, that's too bad. That guy's great.
Yeah,
I love these.
He was married to Miu Miu.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a heartbreaker.
He took his life in 1981.
Yeah,
that's too bad. Because, like, these. First thing I got to say about this movie is that I forgot how fucking charming young Depardieu is. Holy shit, he is a hot ticket in this movie. You're just like, that guy is like, he comes on screen. You're like, I love this dude.
Someday,
no matter what he does,
this guy's gonna rape women.
Yeah, like, it's a bad news movie, no doubt. But, like, he comes on he's got so much magnetism and charm, and
especially when he goes right after the woman in the audience.
Yeah, it's like it's brutal and it's great. He's amazing. He's amazingly. He is a movie star. The moment you see him in this movie, you're like, you're a movie star. You got me already.
Also, the other thing I want to note about these two movies, just to put, neither of them follow Save the Cat.
No.
No. These are wackadoodle movies.
The structure do you expect from films, you are not getting in this one.
Not going to get it here. These are and I think this is what's definitely arguable for both movies. However you feel about the movies, this is the kind of movie that we recommend, especially when you watch it on Tubi for free. That you just your brain has to grapple with the movie, and that in itself is inspiring.
Sure.
That's the exciting part about movies like this. It's not the kind of movie we cover all the time because we've known to listen to the show after a while.
Right.
You would be like, what the fuck is this show?
Yeah. It's harder for us to do these things. Yeah.
But as a special birthday gift to ourselves, it's time to talk about some weirdo movies that we appreciate for their charms.
Yes.
And these two
I'm actually curious how the French see this movie now, because it was kind of always known as it's that crazy movie about those guys, right? And Get Out Your Handkerchiefs is known as a classic movie. And right?
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. I have an answer for that, but I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say.
I'm just curious, this one, because to put it in a different way, if you look at this as a Yorgo Lanthimos film, right? This is The Lobster, and then Get Out Your Handkerchiefs is Poor Things, right?
It's Poor Things, yeah.
It's the one that's, okay, he's pretty cool, let's make something for a wider audience, and somehow Get Out Your Handkerchiefs, which is still highly controversial.
Oh, it's,
But this 100%. One is, we're talking about two guys who run around France
and molest women
and steal everything and are
they're
just
terrible people.
They're
completely
people.
Amoral people.
Yes,
right. And they're presented not only as sort of heroic, but it's sort of
they're presented as idiots too.
Well, they're here's my answer for this is what I think is the difference between those two movies, between this and Get Out Your Handkerchiefs, is Get Out Your Handkerchiefs considered a classic movie. It is the more clearly artful film of the two, right? Where it's this is a weirdo piece of art that is framed artistically. It has obviously surreal things happening. So you can think about it you're in a slightly removed context when you appreciate that one. This one, I think, is more daring simply because it's basically an 80s buddy comedy that is fucked up. This is you're watching Risky
film.
Business. It's utterly it's an easygoing light comedy of shit that's utterly inappropriate,
right?
And highly offensive.
And the way that they start off with her character as just literally being a wet blanket.
It's fucked. This movie's fucked up, and that's what I really enjoy about it. I really got a kick out of this movie. It's really great. And then the thing is, and in comparison, I want to talk about another movie that I saw this week, which is an okay movie called Bottoms, right? Whoa. And Bottoms came out this week. It came out on video recently. It came out last year, and it is it was billed as a LGBTQ plus raunchy sex comedy, 80s style sex comedy. And it's fine, and it's actually made by a very talented filmmaker. But it's fine. But
did it just come out? Because it seems
it's more or less brand new.
A year ago,
right? And I was absolutely shocked at how chaste it was. It was there's nothing raunchy in it at all. There's nothing transgressive. There's nothing offensive.
Raunchy? I mean, chaste? You mean people offended by it?
No, meaning that the movie billed itself as you won't believe how crazy in your face this is and how offensive it is. And I was like, this is not. It's not. It's occasionally charming, but it's a little sloppy and dull.
Listen, we've gone through this story many times, right? It's
Chris. It was just
people are just not. I don't know what's happened, right? It almost seems like a theme for the last few months of oh my God, people are so offended by
clutch
salt
your pearls
burns.
time, dude. I'm just what is happening? This is if you're going out and advertising it as you won't believe how, you're going to be shocked.
Right.
And then it's this, I'm okay. I mean, I felt like they were advertising Clockwork Orange, and they gave me license to drive.
I do remember when I went to go see the movie Happiness.
No, that's a good movie.
And there was a sign.
I remember
the sign at the movie theater was no refunds after 10 minutes.
Refunds. That should have been the title of the movie.
No refunds after 10 minutes. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That's
like,
good advertising, actually.
Yeah, exactly. They should have had an ad for that movie where it was just Philip Seymour Hoffman sticking your movie ticket to the wall.
That's the worst.
That's what we think about your refunds. Yeah, man. But that's the thing. It's like, because the other movie we covered obviously was Saltburn, which I enjoyed quite a bit. I liked Saltburn. Yeah, which I think is a very legitimately good and fun movie. Like, that was the big shocking movie of the year. I was like, get out your handkerchiefs, boys. Come on.
Places.
Yeah, going places. That's that. And it made me really think. It was just like, okay, so, and because I can see in chats, first of all, thank you for the happy birthdays from Welton Sigler and Jason. That's very kind of you. And Welton Sigler also says, not made for the woke audience, right? Now, I'm not on the anti-woke. My politics are quite woke. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But
trust me, the anti-woke are extremely upset and offended by things all the time.
They're just as fucking offended as everybody else.
They're more offended. They burn books, for God's sakes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, everybody, all this, like, I'm sick of everyone getting offended, incling the people who are anti-woke. Like, I think those guys are way worse than the left.
Yeah. I think my guilt comes down to how much I said I don't like Buffalo 66. And then it's very hard for me to defend this after I say that.
I think that you're just owning being human, because it's absolutely fine to say that this movie pissed me off and this movie is fine, and have those things not be in balance is normal.
I'm with Eric on this, believe it or not. You're funny that you're defending me, but I say I'm with Eric. But,
dude.
The
thing, well, I think what it says, right? Okay, let me say. Here's what I think it says. I think it's a good point. But it shows that the thing that you're offended by, that you don't like in Buffalo 66, isn't anything to do with whether it's too misogynist or it's blah blah blah, anything like that. What it comes down to is Gérard Depardieu is a charming motherfucker, and Vincent Gallo is an unlikable scumbag.
No, I think that's what it is. I think Vincent Gallo
is a creep.
Is actually a creep and a horrible person, and he sees himself as a hero.
But Depardieu also is.
Yes, I know, but Depardieu in this film, he is portraying himself as an idiot.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like both these people in real life seem to be scumbags.
I also think the thing about Buffalo 66 and the relatability, it's the themes and a lot of the things that they talk about, and the way they set up the comedic elements in the going places is more for a broader audience. Yeah, the 100%. Thing about Buffalo 66 is so specific, and it's even more specific for like hipsters, and it's even more specific for people who live in Buffalo. Right. And it's really this, like Mickey Rourke's from Buffalo. Right. So it really is...
It's a very particular
type of movie. And it's a particular type of movie because they shot on this film that was not made anymore.
Yeah, and it's a very arty movie. It's a very intentionally arty
and
movie.
It's like reversal film or something like that.
Absolutely, right.
Yeah,
and so 16 or Super 16.
Yeah, so they already had to, like, it already was a pain in the ass to get made.
Right.
It's a very specific kind of film. But the stuff that they dealt with in the comedic elements, like the hairdresser with the gun, the family eating and the daughter saying screw, those are so broad and for that time period.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like the director's like Hal Ashby of France.
Yeah,
and
that's not a good way to put it.
With great nudity. Great nudity.
Yeah.
And
lots
it's
lots of it.
Lots of it.
Good stuff. And that's what it is. It's Hal Ashby who can get away with a lot more.
He also makes fun of male nudity a lot in this too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
man.
There's also
there's a scene I want to talk about.
They both slept with each other, so there's gay sex, there's everything, and there's no holding back, and it's with that freedom and openness and love of life that Ashby had that is there. What's it called again? Buffalo 66. If he did not make this movie, he probably would have just been a painter downtown.
Yeah.
He was part of that downtown scene, so he knew Basquiat, he knew all those guys, and he was basically a hipster that came from Buffalo to New York, tried to become a painter, I think, and then got into other things. I love him.
Yeah, me
and
too. Me too.
I told you the story, like one of my first days with Nance, I took her to Buffalo 66.
How'd it go?
No, it was our second date, and we go, and we're at on Santa Monica right before the 405 at this theater, and literally at the light, I was like, God, what a great! The whole time I'm like, this is a fucking great movie, and the lights go up, and this usher runs down the hall, the aisle, grabs a microphone nervously. He's like, Vincent's here. Can he talk? He was right in front of me. He looks back at me and he gives a smile. And Nancy's like, wait a minute, what?
That's wild.
And
That's
he
weird.
gets up and I give him a smile. I was like, dude, it's awesome. He gives me a kind of a head nod. Gets up and talks about the film for like 45 minutes.
I think he's a horrible person. He's a huge Trumpster and a Nazi. So
yeah, like, well, here's the thing. Yeah, like, here's the thing. It's like, here's the thing. Both Depardieu is a creep lech possible, sex offender.
Oh yeah.
And what's his name? Gallo is, you go on his website, you're just like, he's a racist, pro-Trump Nazi creep. Yeah. So these things, I'm fine with distancing myself from that trash. That's fine. I mean, I'm here to watch the movie. I don't give a shit about the people. But like, I think what's really interesting is their on-screen persona, right? The difference between these two is that Gallo remains a unlikable creep in the movie. It's just that it's such an empathic vision of an unlikable creep that it's hard for me not to get. It's like I'm in touch with the fact that he is an artist who hates himself, and I'm like, been there. I understand this, and I can have empathy. Whereas, like, what's upsetting to me, and what's wonderfully upsetting to me about Depardieu in Going Places, is that Going Places is genuinely offensive because it is such, as you pointed out, Eric, it's like, this is a broad comedy. Like, this is a broad, breezy comedy. Yeah. And what it's doing is absolutely, it's like a broad comedy from a totally different planet where all this shit's okay. Yeah. And it is not okay. And so it's like, it pivots on the idea that none of this shit is okay, and we're trying to treat it like it's fine, is why the movie is a work of art.
Man bites dog.
Man bites dog.
Yeah,
exactly. And so Depardieu in this movie being incredibly fucking charming is part of the devilishness of the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's wonderful about it.
It starts off with a middle-aged...
And you hate a charming person.
Yeah, bingo. Yes. Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood does this with Brad Pitt. Same thing. Look at this guy.
It starts off with this elder woman or middle-aged woman carrying a cake, semi-running home because she's being chased by two guys.
These two lechy fucking, bullying punks. Jerks. Yeah, exactly.
Young guys. And they're chasing her down an empty street. And she's all alone. And she's like, holding this cake,
obviously
trying to get home. Obviously frightened. And she's stuck in an apartment, ringing at a doorbell, trying to get into the apartment building. And
nobody's coming down.
And charming Depardieu comes right up to her and goes, Ursula. Ursula.
What's my name?
And he just starts fondling her, and it's just horrible.
It's hideous. And like what's amazing about this,
I'm not called Ursula. That's not my name.
Yeah, right. And like it's like the thing that I think about all the time, right? With people getting shocked or offended by movies is like, I always fall back on like, movies are not real. Like, I think we forget that movies aren't real. And this movie plays with the idea that movies are not real. Like, what you're watching is not real.
Yes, of course it's not real. And sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Of course it's not real. And you look at a lot of those setups, they're very stagey. Like, even the streets, they seem like old Italian films, like when he's chasing her down the street or in the shopping cart. No one else is there. It's almost like a backlot, BG's
these
video,
empty places.
Staying Alive on the Universal backlot. And the thing is, you walk away with that. It's like what they're doing, you're giving a pass. Like when they're going and touching a certain part of a woman and then smelling their fingers. You're like, my response is, God, guys can be so stupid, right?
Yeah, right.
Because they're so adolescent, right?
But because they're charming,
They get away with this shit.
You look over this violence in a way. And so violence is now depends on, it's not a violent act unless you kind of look at the who's doing it. And when they get back with the car they stole, you're on their side.
Exactly. Because it's a movie. This is what I think is fascinating, because it's a movie. In the context of watching a movie.
But they emphasize that it's a movie by the way the lighting is.
Absolutely.
And the setups. It seems like
and the music.
Film.
And the music. Exactly. The movie is constantly moving you. Right. Exactly. And so what's really
crimes
as they're doing terrible things. And so like this is what's fascinating. So it's just like when people, it's like I think about Roger Ebert, right? Whom was a great reviewer. I thought he was I didn't always agree with him, but he did. He specifically, I was going to bring up, he hated Blue Velvet, right?
Which is
one of the best movies ever made, right?
Yeah, and he's a moron.
And he hated it, and he hated it so much that he in his review he's like, and David Lynch is a disgusting man because of what he put Isabella Rossellini through, and like it's just horrible what he made her do and all this stuff. And Isabella Rossellini came out and it's like, I'm an adult and I chose to do this. This is a work of art that I also produced with him together. Like, don't treat me like I'm a fucking 14-year-old. I'm not a victim. I'm creating this with this guy. This is what I'm doing. Right. And I think to be empathic towards Ebert, right? I feel like that's how fucking powerful movies are, is that you forget that what you're watching is false. Right. And so everything that's happening on screen with, Mew Mew and everything like this, like, you have to, like, you step back. It makes me step back and go, like, they're all doing this. Like, these are actors and artists who are producing an effect in my mind. Like, I'm the one who is having trouble and being upset and getting afraid or getting offended or whatever it is. And if you can just get over the speed bump and say, that's really fucking fascinating that this can happen to me watching a movie. Sure. Like, just get that little tiny bit of distance and watch yourself react to a thing. Then a movie like this is really fascinating, because what you're watching and how the context in which you're watching it makes you think about this stuff and think about your reactions to it, and really gives you tools to sort of actually consider what is happening in you, because none of this is actually real. The real thing is your response, right? And I think that that's what makes this movie wild, right? It's like you're watching this thing and you're seeing these you're like, oh my God, oh Jesus, that's fucking horrible. How can they? And then you go, but of course, this is a slapstick comedy made by actors and a director to fuck me up. I'm the victim. Like, that's what's actually, I'm being abused by the movie. Right. And you're either into it or you're not. But that's what's really happening.
Yeah.
You got to remember too, 74, 73, you had like Oh Calcutta. You had all these shows that were on stage that were like breaking these barriers. So nudity and all these things, and the gay movement coming out in New York. It's like, and I really, it's interesting. One of the guys on your podcast, Eric, said it's more like Hal Ashby. He really is, the more I think about it. Because when I was watching, I was like, man, this is Ashby, but French. Yeah. And the setups were just, my wife, Nancy, and I were like laughing. We couldn't stop laughing. Even the breastfeeding scene, I was like, this is so genius. Great. I love this guy.
It's great.
It's like, these guys are nuts. But you know what? They're saying it's not real, because the husband was this guy who looked like he was a DJ in a nightclub.
I know, he's like a young Don Knotts.
Young Don Knotts. There's nothing serious about it.
On the train, when the
woman,
woman,
train scene, yes,
yeah, right.
When she gets off and kisses her husband, the husband looks like, he
the
does not look
nerdiest guy.
Yeah.
And so the punchline is like, we warmed him up warmed her up.
He's gonna get laid like he's never gotten laid now. This is amazing. Like that, we spiced it up for him. Yeah,
it's a joke. And she won, in a way she responded to them and she gave in to them. Yeah.
And the complexity of that scene is interesting. Like, it's interesting. and it gives you a place to be like to look at that, like look at the emotions you're having. I think that's what makes it
most
fun.
interesting thing is, well, there's several scenes. This movie is filled with like moments that happen that are just little stories, but is the transformation of Miu Miu as she goes through the process, which is
she's my favorite character in the whole movie.
I love that.
Yeah, she's terrific.
There is another ending to this movie that cannot be found, and I've seen it once.
Oh shit! What happens?
Yeah, I'll have to tell you. It's complete.
Well, we should tell people about the movie anyway.
Okay.
Oh, but before we do that, before we do that, was not their friend who worked in the garage from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels?
When we talk about
it seems like the same dude,
that when we talk about the movie?
Dan, do you not agree?
I totally
understand. Well, let's talk about that when we talk about the movie.
Right? So Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
100% with you. Okay, so now the movie.
The movie. Okay, so you introduce these guys. They're chasing this older woman in a shopping cart, and we're introduced to basically they're two punks that like to abuse people.
Yeah, they just do crimes, steal cars.
But really, they're looking like she's scared she's going to get raped by these guys.
It's unclear whether or not she is.
They're going to do that, but
they pretty much take her purse. She's scared or playing part.
Right.
Yeah.
They pretty much take her purse, and there's nothing in her purse, and they throw all her shit everywhere. Right. Pretty bad, guys. Right. But they continue to do things. They steal cars. They do all kinds of stuff. They
Cut to Chris doing this in Greece in 1983.
Yeah. Pretty close.
And these guys are acting basically like 8-year-old boys, like that. Like not even like 16-year-old boys. Like they're acting like little boys. Like that's their mindset about literally everything.
Uneducated morons.
Right.
Yeah.
And they decide to steal a car, which is a DS, which is a Citroën DS, which is like the Cadillac of France.
Yeah, right.
And it has a pneumatic suspension, and they're like, oh, look, they're just basically going on a joyride, and they bring it right back where they got it from.
Right.
And they're like, wait, what? But when they do that, the guy who owns the car owns a beauty salon, comes out with a gun.
Yeah.
And he's like, you guys think you're special. Yeah, I'm going to get you guys. And it's like,
he's like a hood from a 50s movie.
He is
like, that's how he's played.
And the music behind him is like, I got you now, you little punks. Right. And then Miu Miu comes out of the store and she's like, she's
blank faced.
Completely blank faced the whole time.
Yeah. Right.
And she's like, you like her? She's hot.
Buffalo
she's
66,
mine.
the way she's with the same jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing. Exactly.
She's me, huh? She's pretty. Right. She's my shampoo girl, huh?
Right.
Look at his legs.
Yeah, like he's like so like and also like for
it's so ridiculous
for French film fans, like this movie fucks around with both French crime films. It has a sort of a dialogue going on with that, like Shoot the Piano Player and like Rafifi and all that stuff. So there's a lot of that going on, but specifically it seems to be, I can't tell if it's making fun of or interacting with anyway the French New Wave, because the setup with these three characters once they introduce Miu Miu is like straight up what's Truffaut's other famous movie about the two guys and the girl, not 400
Jules
Blows.
and Jim.
Jules and Jim, yeah, exactly. So like it's Jules and Jim, right? Only perverted and extreme. And so it's like it's pushed into, it's like if you took Jules and Jim and then pushed it into the 70s as a Three's Company sitcom with porn. Like it's just like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, it's absolutely bizarre.
Like there's a real difference, like, and it very, maybe that is the Ashby thing, but the way they separate the mature or people who work, who follow the law, and the young people. Right. Yeah. So the owner of the salon is clearly on the side. Everyone looking out the window and chasing them are in this one group that is just against young. Then the guy in the store later in the third act, which was the Mammoth store with a great logo outside, and he goes after that guy. He's very much, and they have I think one of the best scenes in the movie because he's kind of going after him.
That's a great scene.
Because he is, part of a different generation, and he's worked hard. He probably hasn't saved a lot.
Right.
And he's mocking him. And that right there is, and that fits for that time period. But it really is just young, carefree, she's a virgin. Let's all have sex with her in the field. Right? It's like, oh, okay.
You're jumping all over the place on the
I
story.
know, but I'm trying to show
to get context for people.
No, yeah, no. Well, like,
I understand.
He's talking about the tone and the theme. We can move
Yeah,
on
but
to
it
the story.
doesn't
in a
make any
second.
sense if you've never seen the movie, which no one has.
Okay, well, let's not argue about it. It's okay. We can continue with the story in a second. What you're saying is about tone and theme, which is that it is it's a great thing to point out, which is like the tone of the youth in this, unlike the tone of the youth in, say, 60s French cinema. Like if you look at Masculine and Feminine or Jules and Jim, like where they're really savvy, smart, politically active young people in the 60s and the 50s, right? But in this, that's gone. Like in this, there are a bunch of dummies who are just having fun. And like
they're going after the older everybody, even the older generation that made those films.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
But
that's exactly what I was going to say.
And that's the same thing as the samurai, right? That you talked about before.
Exactly. Like it's a spit in the face to the previous generation.
Oh, absolutely.
In a beautiful way, which I think is really fun.
Yeah, but that's the tone, and that's why. That is why it takes these chances and risks by showing these things. It's more because we're basically saying "fuck you."
What's really ironic, Eric, though, is that the generation that these guys are, they're all boomers who are making fun of the greatest generation, right?
Yes. Because I'll tell you one thing. You're like, no matter who you are, you will be the boomer. Like
at some point,
at some point you're the boomer. Like you may be Gen Y right now or whatever. You can look forward in your dotage that you are the villain who everyone's making fun of. It's what's coming for Gen X. We're in the golden zone right now, where it's just like we kind of go, wasn't us? We're the cool kids. We're the latchkey kids. Yeah. But I could already feel us trending into the boomer zone, where there's like, you know what? Fuck those guys, and now they're going to pin it on us. Yeah. And the people people under you will pin it on you. Yeah. It's coming. Yeah. Guaranteed. That's what happens.
So I forgot where we were.
I used to pin it on the people above us, and now it's going around.
Sorry. We should just talk about films and say, you know what? Go watch it if you want to know what it's about.
Yeah, you want to know what happens? Go see it. Okay, so anyway, this is what happens in the movie. We should keep it short, but this is what happens in the movie, right?
Essentially, we'll keep it short. Okay, sorry, I'll go. So essentially, they run away. He gets shot in the balls.
Yes.
They find a doctor. They go to every apartment in the neighborhood to try to find a doctor and blackmail him into giving him treatment for his gunshot wound, steal the doctor's money, and threaten to attack their kids if they don't do anything.
Yeah, and all the men in all these situations are totally like, they're weak, you know, henpecked.
Not the doctor though. You know? The doctor does out of his duty, and his wife is there, and he's more like frustrated because he's like, you take all the money, I just saved your friend's life. Right. It's like he can't believe
fucking jerks.
These are the people he has to, by oath, save.
Right. You know, but they're all like, you know, legitimate people. Right. Like almost all the adults in the movie are adults. Like they're just like, who are these assholes? Right. And we can't help but look at them like, what a drag, man. You suck. Right. Even though that's who you'd actually want people to be like.
And so Patrick is now, not Depardieu is not the one who shot this. Patrick is his shot. Yeah. And he is now concerned that he can't get a hard on. That is his number one problem.
He's focused on this for at least 25 minutes. He's focused on this is a big part of the film, right? Right. So they keep going on their ridiculous thing. They take the money, they buy themselves a bunch of things. They go to the Mammoth store, as Eric mentioned, and they have a confrontation with a guy who's like head of security. And they have this friendly banter, like passive aggressive banter with each other that is just hilarious. Yeah.
And basically he can't do anything. It's like, look, I've got money. I can do whatever I want. You know, it's like, right.
No. Well, and what's really great is not only like Gérard Depardieu is very sort of charming and intense in the scene, but they don't play the store manager or the store cop there as if he's a dummy. Like he's really getting his blows in. Like he's just like,
he's really
you're a fucking
focused on, like he hates him. Yeah. He hates him so much, yet he's talking with him with a
realistic
smile.
Appreciation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's like, he is a legit person who has a real actual grievance against scumbags like this guy.
Yeah.
And you go like, I feel it. I know it. It's just that I happen to be on the charming guy's side.
Keeps making it worse for him while still giving him no excuses to do anything about it.
Yes.
Which is really,
it's
really
great sequence.
Yeah.
Great
yeah,
sequence.
and by the way, that kind of banter between the young and the old, that's exactly like in Buffalo 66 when they're back there with Angelica Houston and Jackie Treehorn.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, because what's really
Treehorn.
Jackie Treehorn, like what's really wild about this movie and what's unique about this movie is that the villainous adults, right, are actually played mostly as pretty realistic actual people, right, and the youth are the only thing heroic about them is that they're beautiful and funny.
Yeah.
Like that's it. And like, I mean, like there's no veneer of they're on the good guy's side or they're doing the right thing or they're politically active or anything. Like they're actually kind of dumb, but they're so sexy. Like, and that's why you're on their side, because you're watching a movie and you want to see sexy people. And so they win.
And you want to see what they're going to do next.
And you want to see what they're going to do next.
And you're tempted by them. You've always wondered what it would be like to just do whatever the fuck you want.
It's really, it's such a great, like, this is what makes this thing a work of art to me, is like, it, instead of being arty, it's like, let's be a fucking fun 70s movie.
Yes.
Like, fuck it. Let's
do
it.
But it's definitely,
it just textually,
every
like,
woman who's ever been in a dark alley, it's their worst nightmare.
Now, here's a question. Do you think they died in the tunnel at the end?
No.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think that they achieve their
little Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, like, well, they just achieve their moment of like, we can do anything. They which is what they say. And so the moment they say that, it's no longer interesting to follow them.
I want to tell you, when we get to the ending, I will tell you what the alternate ending was.
Interesting.
It's
Okay.
very different.
Yeah.
Like, for example, he's obsessed about it. So they end up hopping a train because they know the cops are after them. And the train sequence is very disturbing. So there's this little rural train. There are two guys on a train. The only other person on a train is Isabelle Huppert, right? Famous actress. There with a baby, nursing a baby.
Oh, that's not Huppert. That's the other actress. Huppert is the 16-year-old band. She's really
right. It's the other one.
Yeah, the other famous French actress that I can't think of her name. But yes, go ahead.
And then the older lady is even better.
Yes, and she's terrific. Also,
she's terrific.
Famous French actress.
But anyway, she's on the train. They are creepy guys that sit there and stare at her while she's nursing her baby. Right? And then they just make it uncomfortable. They keep following her around the train. There's no one else on the train, just the three of them.
Right.
Don't you think the way they sat there watching her breastfeed, that's out of Raising Arizona?
That's funny.
That's
right? That guy's Raising Arizona. Yeah, exactly.
They were looking at her.
You appear capable.
It looks like you got some mental problems there, H.I. Yeah. But the way they were all just huddled and looking at her like knuckleheads, it's the same way they were looking at her.
Coen brothers love this movie.
Oh,
I guarantee you. Yes, guarantee you.
Yeah, it's a good point, Eric. Excellent point.
Yeah.
But essentially, they make it impossible for her to get away, and then they threaten to. They say, my friend here has never been breastfed, so he offers her money to breastfeed his friend.
Right.
At which point he does.
And it turns to this weird, sexy scene. And you're just like, the fact that it's sexy is uncomfortable.
Yeah, because it looks like they're pretty much abusing her, and then she gets into it.
Then she's into it, and then the whole thing closes up with, his buddy he's just like, fuck, I still can't get a boner. Like he's so sad. And then she gets off the train and buttons up and goes and sees her husband who's back from the military or whatever,
right?
and kisses him madly.
He looks like the dopiest guy from Revenge of the Nerd, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so like this whole fucking scene is so weird and sexy and upsetting and funny, and it's a giant power play, the whole thing.
Oh,
and like that, the movie, like all I keep thinking is like, the movie uses every tool it can to fuck with you. Like these people are so goddamn attractive.
Yes.
That it suckers you into watching scenes that you're like, why am I watching this, let alone enjoying it? Like what is happening?
Yeah.
It's spectacular. It's spectacular.
Yeah. And so he's still upset. They end up going to a beach town, which is completely abandoned.
Yep, dead.
But it has all the old bunkers.
Because it's it's in the off season, right?
Yeah.
There's no one there.
There's nobody there. Yeah.
But didn't you get the significance of that?
It's
Older generation. Those are the bunkers that the Nazis took over to put those on the beach.
Yep. Yep. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well,
That's amazing.
there's a whole story about how those were created into beach towns. But yes, you're right.
But yeah,
those were bunkers, though. Those were
no, you're absolutely right, because that's the subtext of what's happening here. Like, it just puts it in just offhandedly, you know, where you're just like, there's something serious underneath all of this movie,
right?
You know, and these people are so fucking frivolous and entertaining, and like, I'm the one the fact that I'm enjoying them is making me culpable in some way. It's fucking wild. It's a wild movie.
So yeah, Patrick is still upset about everything. And and then they break into a person's house and they're like, "Oh, well, you need to get a bath. You'll feel better once you take a bath." They're like, "I can't take a bath. I got my bandages. My balls are still injured and everything else." And so Depardieu just bathes him.
Right. And this whole the gay subtext becomes text.
Yeah, it's totally text. Yeah, because he's like cleans himself off and then he just literally rapes him.
Yeah, exactly. And
he's like, "Come on, it's natural." It's natural.
It's fun between buddies. And then the movie just keeps going. And like, there's no big violent scene. They just start cut, and then you know that this has happened.
He's
and
very
he's just like,
angry
I can't believe
about
you
it.
did that.
He's very angry about it. I can't believe you did that to me.
Can't believe you did that.
Yeah.
Like, as if they're like 2 8-year-old kids and someone hit the other with a rock.
Yeah.
You know? You're just like, what? And like, there's so many great...
He's still upset about the fact he can't get a boner.
And yeah, exactly. Like,
and Depardieu's like... Because he always thinks of himself as a genius, which I think is always like, "I'm a genius. I have an idea.
I have the idea. Right?
I have an idea. I know how to solve your boner, and I need myself a good girl, and I know how to solve your money problems."
This is quite an offensive movie. But you know, like, this is what's great about it, right? And like, there's so many scenes where it just like, there's some tense shit starts to happen, and then it just cuts to them running away with people chasing them. Like, this happens like 3 or 4 times. And you're just like,
constantly.
What happened? Like, what
just
happened?
Steal a tractor, whatever.
Yeah, who knows? You know, like, maybe, I don't know, did they rape that person? Yeah. I don't know, they're running and people are chasing them with pitchforks. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, the movie is so... it's having so much fun at your expense, and the fun is what's keeping you there. It's incredible. It's an incredible little joke.
Yeah. So they show up at Miu Miu's house. That's this great plan.
And then like, and so like, they become buddies. Yeah. And she's just as like, "Fuck off! I don't give a shit. Come on in, it's fine.
Come on in,
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. You guys want to get me naked? I don't care. You know, whatever."
And like, and then there's this whole bit where they're taking turns having sex with her, right? And commenting on how to do it.
How to do it. Yeah, they're looking at each other like, "This is how you perform." Is like, you got to go. And she just sits there, lies there, does nothing. She doesn't give a
shit either way. She's like,
"Is like, am I hurting you?" No.
No, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
And then they're
no
mad
expression, nothing.
They're mad at her. They're mad at each other.
Yeah.
They're just like, "How come we can't get this girl off?" Like, and like,
I love the one when he's like, "We're gonna do her from behind." He's like, and then he's looking at her face to see if her expression changes. It's like, is she blinking? Is she closing her eyes? Is she biting her lips? Nope. Is she sweating? Nope.
No. Like, they're doing a science project, right? And she's like, "Are you sure you're all right?" Yeah, fine. You know, like, so you're just like the weird.
Very funny.
It's extremely funny, and especially when Depardieu is with her, and you just
he's explaining like, "Oh, what a macho man." He's like,
he's just like, "This is what you do. You gotta fast and slow." And then
are you okay? Some people suffocate from me. It's
right, exactly. It's amazing. You're in the hands of a professional here. But like, when it cuts to his buddy is just looking at Gérard Depardieu's ass, and the ass is just coming up into the screen, going out over and over and over again, mesmerizingly. And I'm just like, this is fucking hilarious. This is a hilarious movie.
It's very funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's so like, everything that's happening is god awful and wrong. Like, everything is wrong. You know, but they're playing it like, this is absolutely normal.
Right.
They're like treating this person this way as normal. The fact that she's not responding at all is sort of like, it's not that they're being misogynist. She's just like, I don't give a fuck what you do. Like, you're a couple of idiots. Like, I don't know, whatever. You're just like,
well,
what is happening?
The problem is you can interpret it as women are there to be abused, right?
Right, but that's she's not even present for it. Like they're so
She's completely
innocuous.
not present. Absolutely right.
Yeah, like their existence is not even it barely registers with her. Like, just like, who gives a shit?
That's
about
the
these
problem,
guys?
right? So the thing is, if you have to sort of watch the development of the character to realize that that's not the truth, right?
Right, exactly. And like she slowly changes into their mindset, essentially. Like,
yes.
Over the course of the movie, she becomes one of them, and by the end,
she already was like that. If her boss was telling her to walk around with no panties so he can smell her.
Oh yeah, but I mean, but she is
already.
Like, but she was like in the beginning, she's just sort of numb and taking orders from everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, she's like, I need this to happen. Let's go, and she's having fun and saying we should go and do this. Like, she's suddenly this very active character with agency.
She's a member of the gang.
She's a member once she becomes a member of the gang. Then everything's fine, right? And she's no longer being abused. She's entirely in control of her existence. And like they're this weird little team, you know. And like once it hits that point, I'm like, I don't even know what this movie is anymore. Like, it's like, what is it? What is this movie arguing for?
Yeah.
Like, what is the ultimate point of view here, or is it just about how I am reacting to the movie?
Right.
Because, like, of course, she's a beautiful person. She's going to join the beautiful people team. Like, she's a star, you know? And it's both upsetting and extremely funny at the same time.
Then, for some reason, and this is it stands out as different scene, but Depardieu gets another idea.
Mm-hmm.
And that is to find a new woman for the other guy.
Yeah, right.
And his idea is to wait outside of a women's prison.
This is incredible. This whole sequence is incredible.
Unbelievable, right?
Especially what's her name, who plays the woman from the prison, is tremendous in this
Joan
scene.
Moreau, and she was married to
Jean Moreau. Yeah,
she was married to Friedkin.
Yeah, she is one of the great actresses of all time.
She's fantastic.
Wow. And Jean Moreau is, let's see, Jean Moreau. Where is it? Shoot. Anyway, she's in some incredible classic French film. If you think she's good in this, just look her up. Watch her movies. She's incredible. But she is she's the gold standard in this movie for me.
She is by far, and that's her role. Her role is to make them look petty, which they already were, but really put that into context.
Mm-hmm. And she's such a brilliant, sad character.
Yeah,
you know, and they treat her so kindly and so well because they're looking to have something fresh and new in their lives.
They admire her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, she came out of jail. She walked out of jail. She's got a suitcase. She's got nothing. And they're following her around. And it's very similar to the opening scene where they're following the other woman around.
Only she's in command.
She's in command. Yeah. And she's
the woman in the opening is running from them.
Running from them. This one,
she just turns around and is just like, what the fuck do you want?
Right. What do you want? And they're trying to be nice to her. They're like, oh, no, we're just trying to be nice.
Right.
And they offer her money. They have money. They stole more money or whatever. So they offer her money and they said, oh, you're probably cold. You should get some clothes. And so they offer her clothes. They go to the Monoprix, which is the store, like Target, and she buys herself some clothes. And then they basically do whatever she wants to do because she's been in jail for 10 years, right?
They take her to dinner at this seaside restaurant.
She's eating like she hasn't had a good meal in 10 years, so she's just
and like initially she eats so much that she throws up. She's so happy to be eating like real food again, right? But by the time they take her to the restaurant,
so beautiful. And then she goes to the beach and looks out at the water and the sand, and she takes Depardieu's arm, and then she turns around to the other guy, just puts her arm out, like, come here, so they can both hold her. It's just so touching. It's unbelievable.
Because she's beyond like
Itamama
moment.
Itamama again.
Moment. Yeah.
It's the same moment.
she's the one like purely human dimensional character in the movie.
Right.
Like, and she is so, like, she doesn't have a lot of lines, you know, they don't have to do big scenes that explain anything. It's just her performance is so rich, that you can just watch, and much of the time they spend with her, they're just watching her. Like Depardieu is just looking at her while she's like finishing her meal and
she's
and
older
having this
woman.
experience.
She's like, she could be their mother.
50-ish. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
She has a speech that she gives to the waitress about how she tells the waitress that she should celebrate her period, because when she stops having her period, that's when it really hurts.
Yeah, and there's like this is such a great speech, because like she's like, I was in prison for 10 years and at one point I just lost it. And so like I know that it's a real pain in the ass and it makes you really irritable and grumpy and whatnot, but just really enjoy it when it's happening. You know, because
when it stops happening,
you'll be sad. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like this movie is just suddenly has this incredible, like puts all of its character depth and just invests in this one person, right, and trusts this brilliant actor to convey that there is real humanity in this film. Like everybody else is a fucking cartoon, right? Mm-hmm. Except that this says that there's a real human heart to what is being said here.
It's
right?
very, very, because you've been watching such a goofy thing for so long, and so you're so offended, and suddenly like the victim has such heart and such transformation.
And she's just not. She's
no longer a victim. Right?
She's just not. Yeah, she's in absolute command of every scene she's in.
Yeah.
Right. When they're at the restaurant, you keep on like they're gonna so their whole.
Did you lose
things?
You? Yeah. No, you're back. Keep going.
And so like they're gonna eventually you feel like eventually the other shoe's gonna drop and they're gonna pull out the gun and make her have sex with them or something like this. But instead, like it's just a long dinner scene. They watch. She eats and she's looking at the ocean and she looks back at them and she's like, hey, you guys, what do you guys do? What are your jobs? Ask them some questions. And he goes, you wouldn't want to sleep with an old broad, would you? Right? And what's his name? Depardieu goes, oh yeah. And then there's a moment he goes, but I don't see any around here. Do you? Looks to his friend. And he's like, no, I don't see anyway. And I was just like, whoa. Like, this is like, I'm suddenly emotionally invested in what's happening here.
Yeah.
Right. And they go back to a hotel and they
go back to a really nice hotel.
A really nice hotel.
And she is very happy. She's kissing and loving both of them.
Yeah, so it's this menage a trois scene, right?
But compared to everything else you've seen, it's
not trashy.
It's romantic.
Right? It's romantic. It's really sexy, right? And there's no actual like nudity. There's no graphic nudity at all. Like it's a real romantic
it's passion and kissing, and it's very much feeling
right.
It. And you see her in bed, like the two boys are asleep on either side of her.
Right.
And she is sleeping there peaceful and feels fulfilled. You can tell she feels fulfilled.
And everything, for a moment, you're like, whoa, everything's fallen into place for everybody in the movie for a second, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she wakes up early and they're both asleep. She gets up in the next room and shoots herself in the most horrible way you can possibly imagine shooting yourself.
Yeah. The place she stopped bleeding.
Yeah, exactly. So like they walk in and they see that her legs are coated with blood and there's a gun between her legs and she's shot herself up through her vagina and into her heart and she's dead, right? And they run, right? And they run and they run and they run, right? And they're getting away from this, right? And they go back to Mew Mew. Right? They desperately go
terrified and sad.
Yeah.
And she's like, and then she looks at them and her reaction is like, well, you guys can have sex with me, but I'm on my period.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So like, right. And then there's the shot of them in bed with Mew Mew crying.
And she's holding them like,
and she's holding them. And you're like, oh my God. Like, and so like, now you feel like I felt bad for them. Like there's these little, like, I felt like these are little boys that just lost their mom is the feeling that I have in the scene.
Who they just had sex with.
And yet, even though the entire context of the film should be telling me, get the fuck out, Dan. Like, this is horrifying. But it lands it all so beautifully and so well that you can't help but be invested in these guys.
This is very hard to explain, like why this.
It's like the movie that there's two movies that this pinged for me. One I already brought up is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is nowhere near as nasty, but it does the same thing where it's like you're following both a pathetic guy and a racist, terrible person. But because they are who they are, you can't stop watching them, and it makes you examine what you love about the filmic experience, right? And the other one is Bad Boy Bubby, where you're just like,
but
what is it that I'm watching, and where is it bringing me? And once it gets you there, you're like, there's no other way I could have come here. This is amazing.
But why would it be such a difficult movie for today for people when
there is no way? I hate to have no faith in people, but there's no way that 90% of people who watch this will get by the first 8 minutes. Like, they'll be like, I would not watch a movie like this, and they'll shut it off. I guarantee you. Like, there's no value to them to watching this. They can't imagine that being true, which is sad. And this is not me picking on anyone young or anybody. Like, this is everyone. I would not recommend this movie to anyone with an enormous amount of caveats.
Same thing with Bad
some
Boy Bubby,
context,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But movies like this really are transformative, like, because they're transgressive in very, very specific and intentional ways. Then they make you think very hard and make you feel very hard about things that you don't normally spend time thinking and feeling about. Once they get you to the point that they're taking you to, it's unique. And you have to be open to that experience in order to get there. Otherwise, you'll never get there. And I think that's echoed in the movie, even through Miu Miu, who can't have an orgasm, right?
Right.
And like, she finally does once she realizes her own kink. Like, when she's given the ability to realize her own particular kink, then suddenly she is overwhelmed and set free. Which is like essentially my experience of this movie, where I'm just like, I don't get what is happening here until finally it gets for me, it's a bit with the older actor. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, I'm with you, movie. I didn't think I'd get there, but I'm with you.
Well, that's the one, right? That's the one that everyone's like, well, that scene is amazing.
Yeah.
But the rest of it's really offensive.
It's all part of a piece. But
you can't do one without the other, right?
You can't do one without the other. It's all part of a piece. Absolutely true. Yeah. And so to take it from there, they
find they have her suitcase, and in her suitcase they find a bunch of letters, and in the letters they find that she had a son, and her son is also in jail.
Right.
And they decide that because they loved her, they're going to try to help her son. Mm-hmm. And they find her son, who also comes out of jail. They take him back to their house in the country. And then they suddenly
classic French, oh my God, country house.
There's the picture behind us right now where they're basically dressed in the same clothes with their little straw hats.
Yeah, it's like suddenly you're watching like Manon du Source or something like this.
Like
it's
old
hysterical.
Men who are tired.
Exactly.
And they're like a Matisse painting,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. It's hysterical. It's hysterical. Right.
And their thing, she shows up and she's making, as the little housewife, which is funny too, right?
Yeah, right.
And they're like, tell the guys like, well, what's ours is yours, so you can go have sex with her. Go ahead. And he is just awkward guy.
Yeah, he's a weird, creepy, little strange-looking man.
Right. And so
he finally is like, maybe I will, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, good for him, but she's not going to react, obviously.
Yeah. And so they go fishing, and while they're going fishing, all of a sudden they hear her reacting to sex, which she never does.
Yeah, and she's like,
she's
screaming. There. She's just like,
ecstatic,
right?
And then she comes running out of the house.
And this is one of my favorite shots in the movie. Like, this is an incredible shot. She is like, they're already pissed off. They're so jealous. Like, they're so mad that they're just like, I can't believe that. What's wrong? Right. And they're in their little weird little farmer outfits and their hats. And they're walking along together, all offended. And
kicking rocks.
Right. And here comes Miu Miu running stark naked down the dirt road towards them, going, I came.
It's finally happened.
Right. And she runs into their arms and hugs them both, and they fucking throw her in the river. they're just like they're so pissed off little boys. Like, I can't believe that didn't happen for me. They throw her in there. They drag her. They cuts to she's out. Right, she's naked and she's out, and she's just describing what fantastic
happened,
experience
how it happened, right? And which is different than you think it happened, right? Because you assume that he was just some big stud for some reason, but it's not.
She gets total dominance over this guy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, and she's like, and then I get him to break down, and he starts crying, and then that's what. And as soon as they get to the point when she has an orgasm, they throw her in the river again.
Yes,
like they're so jealous and little boy-headed about it that they can't even see it. Right. But after that moment, she's part of the gang. She's just like, I've been set free. I can see the world as a beautiful place, and now we can just fuck around and have fun and be a team. Right. And I'm just like, this movie is wild. It's the weirdest team building movie I've ever seen.
Yes, but they decide, okay, they're going to bring this guy on, and she now is like, let's get, we need money, we need this, we need that.
Let's go rob some shit.
Yeah, we need to go. We need to go, man. And they're like, well, whatever, cool, it's cool. And then the other guys is like, I got a guy in jail, and we can find this whole thing. They're gonna, we're gonna set, we're gonna get all a bunch of money. We're gonna,
with
a nest egg, and we're gonna steal from them. I was like, okay, well, here's your gun. You go ahead and do it. And she goes, oh, I knew you guys would be cowards. She says,
yeah, exactly. Just calls my pussies. Like, fuck you.
And suddenly she's like totally in control, right?
She's totally in control of her shit. Exactly. And so
when she has an orgasm.
Yeah. Everything's fine. Once she found her center, she's got control of her life.
Yeah.
And so they go out. So the two of them are just like, well, I'm not gonna be a coward, and they go on the crime.
But the person they end up going is the guard of the jail.
Is the warden of the jail. And it turns out they're not there to rob the guy. It's the son wants to just kill this dude.
Avenge him.
Exactly. So
kills
the son
the guy.
Murders the guy. Cut to Depardieu and his pal running. Like they're just like, okay, fuck it, I'm out of here. And they get a car and they drive away with Mimio, and they never see that guy again.
Right.
But now they're on the run from the law because the warden was killed and they're being pinned for it.
And they keep stealing car after car. They keep getting from car to car. And she, at this point, is in the back of the car going, we should make love.
Yeah. She's like, come on, we got to get it on. We got to do this.
She's like, well, we don't have time for this. We're running from the law.
Yeah, like suddenly they're all serious.
It's like, but I need to know if it was just a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Come on, please.
So there she's banging his friend in the back of the car while he's trying to drive. And he's just all pissed.
And then his butts are in the air.
I'm trying to drive here. This kind of stuff. It's utterly silly.
And then she finally does have an orgasm again, and he's like, and then they're like pull over and they switch sides.
Which is like now, like
full on slapstick.
The thing is, and once that happens, that's actually when they're totally the team, and then Depardieu now cares about her as an equal.
Yes.
Right. And he's just like, I can't bring you with us anymore because
they find it in the newspaper that they're wanted men. Right.
Yeah. Like we're gonna be thrown in fucking prison. This is bad news. And she's like, I'm in. Fuck this. Let's go. And commits. And so now that's when the team becomes the real team. Yeah. Right. And then they're just like on the run, robbing shit. Like that's it. Yes. And then in the final sequence, that's basically what happens.
So we missed a part of when they're in that apartment in the countryside. Mm-hmm. They're looking through all the stuff and they find a bikini.
Yes.
And they're like sniffing it and they're like trying to guess like, oh, how old this girl is. Like,
it's like a champagne cork or something like that. They're just like, man, they're trying to get all the notes right. It's disgusting, but it's historical. Yeah.
And it's, like 15, 13.
Yeah. And because they know the girl's name is Jacqueline. Right. And there's so they're in this house and Depardieu's like sniffing away and they're like going, no, much. I mean, she's got to be older than that. And they're like going through this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, she's in the next room. And he goes, Jacqueline. Like he's so mesmerized. And then in the end of the movie,
they run into they're at a riverside or a small stream, and there's a family having a picnic with another Citroën.
Right.
And they're just going to straight up swap cars. They don't care. They just walk up to cars and just take them.
Yeah, just gonna walk and take the car, right? And the guy's like, "What the family's
like, what the hell are you doing?"
Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah,
that whole thing was so Bonnie and Clyde. That setup.
Yep. And like walks up, and it's just basically starts to take the car. The husband, and very rich couple, obviously, and their kid. And at some point during this interaction, the mom's just like, "Be quiet, Jacqueline." And you can see Depardieu's like, "What?"
Right.
Jacqueline.
And then Jacqueline gets upset at the dad. It's like, "Just who cares about your car? Just let him take it." And then she's like, she gets so upset at her dad. And is like, "Okay, forget it. Take me with you. I don't want to be with them anymore."
Yeah, fuck these guys. They got 200 grand in their purse, and take me with you, and blah blah blah. And they're like, "Right on, let's do it.
Let's do it." And so they take her, and then Mew Mew says, "Oh, you've never had sex before." And then
the character that they pick up is Isabelle Huppert, right?
Yeah.
And who's another one of the great French actors.
But she's very young in this, obviously.
And now she's playing a character who is 16 years old.
Yes.
She is actually at this time 21.
Right.
But she's playing a 16-year-old, and it's Mew Mew's just like, "How old are you? 16. I'm like, "Have you ever had sex?" Like, no. And she's like, "We got to take care of this right away. We can't have this this innocence just going on like this. Like we have to show the glory of the world."
Right.
And so the two guys sleep with 16-year-old, and then she's psyched, and she leaves them like, "Thanks a lot, guys." You're like, what the fuck is this movie? Like, what is this thing?
Yep.
And then
Surprisingly holds up well, considering it was made back then.
Oh yeah, I mean, like this is the like the movie is intending to challenge the audience when it came out. Like none of this is okay when it came out. All this is just as terrible when it came out. It's just that back then people were adults enough to receive it as a movie that you are supposed to interact with your mind rather than run away in terror that you're a part of something terrible. Like I think that's the big difference. Culturally right now, we're not in a good space to handle anything like this.
We've regressed.
Yes, I agree.
Absolutely.
Because it's because we can't be seen to connect with something like this. Like we can't talk about it at any other level at all.
This was not
the initial
abnormal. It was supposed to be offensive, but movies like this were not abnormal at the time.
Yeah, I mean, movies that were offensive and challenging. That's what that was just part of the responsibility of art. That's just what was going on all the time, and we just happened to be like, this is not something new. We hit periods like this where people get really, really uptight and want to ban books and all that kind of stuff. Every now and again this happens, and we just happen to be in one of those cycles right now. But it makes it would be a hard watch for most folks watching this today.
So where was I? So they leave her, and then they get back into the car, and they drive off, and they say, "Well, where do we go from here?" They said, "We I don't know, we just do whatever we want to do. Do we just drive till the tank is empty?" And the car just keeps driving down this mountain road and into a tunnel and ends. That's the ending that you guys saw, right?
And so, as I was answering Eric's question before, is like the movie ends there because they've attained a sort of perfection. Like they're no longer actually concerned about anything in the adult world at all anymore. Like they're not afraid of being caught. They're not afraid of doing whatever they do.
Dream.
They're absolutely in a dream world in which everything is fine, and they can have sex whenever they want and go any place they please, and like everything is going to be perfect forever for them. And that's why the movie is over.
So in the other version that I saw, they end up in a house, and Mew Mew takes control of them.
Interesting. Okay.
And they have to earn money. So she dresses them up as transvestites to go get money, and they have to work, and she's the complete control over these guys, and they are working the streets as prostitutes, the two of them, the two boys.
Wow.
That's wild. That's totally wild.
Yeah. So it's them like this, like, "No, come on, go out there, get the money for us to keep living." So she takes complete control over them.
Right.
That is interesting.
Well, the thing is, like, okay, so I'm glad they went with the ending that they did. Like, it's very funny, right? It's very funny. I'm glad they went with the ending they did because because the movie has no judgment in the end, in the release cut. Like, it leaves it in my lap, right? It doesn't. Sure. Like, I like that. I'm just where it ends. But
it's seeing her just like completely
turned all the way
dominating
around.
them
Yeah.
is
Right.
actually very interesting too.
Yeah, no, I agree. And certainly, like,
I actually
that's
didn't like
that's-
I didn't like the ending when I saw it. I was like, what the fuck? It's a whole other. There's like there was at least 15 more minutes to the movie.
Right. I think I like that is in the film, at least underneath the layer of the film. Like her transformation and their transformation is
When
a part
did
of the
that
movie.
edit occur? Pardon
I
me.
don't
Dan.
know when it occurred, but because I can't even find
it
it
a new
online, a
thing?
description of it or anything. But at one point, I did find an edit, a description that said there's another ending, an original ending that was different.
Well,
I wonder if it was Me Too, or I don't know. It just seems odd.
No. It
this is
happened
way
like
earlier.
ages ago, like 20 years
Right.
ago. That
Crazy.
they changed it.
Yeah, so
it may have been
I
the
think-
American version itself was that way, and maybe I only saw the French version. I don't know.
I like that this ends on basically stays within the Three's Company bounds. It sets out for itself. I think that's actually really good. Nice. It feels a little bit more responsible to its point to be like, wasn't that a blast?
There we go, be go.
Right. And because then you come out of it and you're like, I just watched a really fun comedy. And like walking out of it that way is exactly what you would not expect at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
Like the movie transforms the audience into agreeing with them.
Yeah.
Through their charm and sexiness and wonderfulness. And so Mew Mew is like, you are one of the, like, you going into the movie as an audience member, you're one of the squares. Like, you're one of the adults.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the movie, you're on board. Like, you go through the Mew Mew transformation.
Right.
And I think that's pretty fucking amazing. I like that ending. I'm interested in the other
They
ending,
are
but I like this
so
ending.
bad to her for so long, and then
Hideous. They shoot her in the leg.
they shoot her in the leg and tie her to a
She
chair
had
and
it
leave her in the
coming.
store
Exactly. They're terrible
because she
people.
wanted a kiss.
Yeah. They're terrible people. Like 100%. This is like in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Brad Pitt, once you read the book also, Brad Pitt is a racist, misogynist serial killer. And you're still like, that Brad Pitt, what a scamp. Like, it's hysterical. Like, that's really funny. And that's what this movie is. And I guess my question is, like, do you think that this movie is making fun of its generation, or is it an argument for its generation?
I don't know. I mean, I think the film. It's like there was the scene when they steal the guy's Citroën again, and they take it to the garage, and we mentioned the garage scene, right? And the garage guy is hilarious with the giant afro. But Patrick is still pissed off because he got shot in the balls by the guy, that he wants to have revenge on him.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good.
I think you answered that earlier, though, Dan,
Mm-hmm.
when you said, or Chris said, all of a sudden you'll wake up and you'll be that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The older guy. I think the filmmaker's not saying, this was what happened. It's more like, okay, have your fun, but
have your fun.
someday
Have
you
your
will
fun.
be that guy.
That's right. Have your fun. Because I mean, certainly that's what it's saying to the Nouvelle Vague, right? It's saying like, you guys have your fun, but now you're the squares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Like,
the thing that I think was funny
this is what's
when he basically like he wants to have revenge on the guy who owns the beauty salon, and he goes through this story of how he's going to basically booby trap his car and give it back to him so that he has an accident. But he narrates in his mind how this is all going to happen and how he's going to get into his car and how it's going. And he's like describes this story of beauty. And it's, if you remember the scene from Get Out Your Handkerchiefs, it's exactly the same scene when they describe Mozart. Like, imagine Mozart's outside.
Yeah. Right.
Oh my God, here he is. He would hear this music. Oh my God. Yeah. Like, and it's just them describing this whole thing. And he's like so excited about like booby trapping his car. And then when they finally go back to Mew Mew, it's like, what happened to your boss? He's like, what happened to his car? And he goes,
oh, he sold it.
He sold it.
Yeah, and like, oh no. And then he suddenly is filled with empathy. He's like, when I think of the poor people that bought that car, like, what? Bro,
you're the one who booby trapped me.
You did it. Like, it's so funny.
He basically like damaged the wheel so that the wheel would fall off.
Yeah. But no, I was really thrilled with this movie. I think it's extremely funny, and the the sort of the emotional ride it takes you on specifically as the viewer. It's more about the audience than it is about the characters. Like it's like we are messing with you so hard that you don't even know what to think, and ultimately we're going to put you in a state that you would have argued against in the beginning of the film. And I think that is a really great trick. Like I was just like, that is a brilliant thing to have done.
Yeah.
Very, very smart, beautifully done movie. That like, and especially in the center of it with the Jean Moreau. Like I was like, there's a real movie happening here. Like that's not just fucking around. Like there's a real movie happening.
Yeah.
That
You're talking about Eureka.
Yeah,
No.
coming up to it. No, but with when Jean Moreau and the threesome love scene and all that, like I was like, this is where the movie allows you your own humanity and gets you invested in a way that you did not think was possible. And I'm just like, that's some fucking good filmmaking right there. And it's amazing that they just let her do it. Like filmmaking doesn't change, it doesn't up its game. It's still like a very breezy style, everything. But like, it's just like, let's get Meryl Streep in here to ground the film. And then we're back to the fucking Adam Sandler comedy. And you're like, what? You know, like it's a brilliant thing to have done. I loved it. I thought it was terrific.
Yeah. Really good. Anyway, it's a film that I'm glad we finally found a way to watch it.
Yeah, that's a great one. I mean, we've been talking like when that popped up, I was like, oh shit. I mean, I emailed you at like 2 a.m. I was like,
Yeah.
it's here.
Yeah.
You know, like there's like, I will try to keep on top of Tubi
Most
and
people-
let people
Besides
know.
celebrating your birthdays, celebrate Tubi.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tubi's amazing.
Happy Tubi to you.
Happy Tubi Day.
Absolutely.
Happy Tubi Day.
Yes, I know the day will come where Tubi will be a pay for service and it'll get all legitimate and all of its shit will be behind the
Tubi
paywall.
is trying to make their own content.
Oh, God bless. Yes, that's what I want. I hope they make shitty 70s movies.
Totally terrible movies.
Like
Totally terrible.
I want
know
them
someone
to
who's
start,
working on their stuff and they're like, oh, it's really bad.
Oh, I would love a piece of that action.
Talk
man.
about
If-
the lowest budget, lowest
Yes.
common denominator.
if you could get in there right now and start making like 1980s Charles Manson, Charles, what's his name? Charles Manson. Charles, what's his name? Mr. Majestic. Charles Bronson. If you could like mid 1980s Charles Bronson movies, if you could make those for today, like Kinjite.
You know what Tubi
You know?
is? You know what Tubi is? Tubi is the USA network from 1992.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful
Fair enough.
time. That is a beautiful time because eventually it crosses over into being high style, and then it's fucked. Like here's the one beautiful window where it's the
It's
shitty.
going to get its one Yellowstone where it's all of a sudden.
Yes,
like,
and then
legit.
it's off to the races for them. But like right now, it's like when the New Beverly, right, used to be a porn theater, right? Right.
I was right. I used to live by there.
That's amazing. And so like it used to be like whatever the Pussycat or what the fuck it was. And they'd also show good movies now and again. Like you're like, this is the window. This is the time. Most of Tubi is garbage. But if you keep your eye out, you'll find it going places.
Mhm.
And it's only too bad that right now is not the time to recommend going places.
Yep.
Like I'm surprised that nobody has said we should boycott Tubi for showing movies like Going Places.
Yep.
Give it time. Give it time.
It'll happen.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, how did you find Eureka? How did you know about Eureka?
Okay, so Eureka's been sort of a mystery movie for a long time for me because it's actually made by one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. Pardon me. The guy's name is Nicholas Roeg, and Nicholas Roeg made
Man from the Earth.
Man Who Fell to Earth, Don't Look Now, which is my favorite horror movie ever, Walkabout. Like the guy is an absolute legitimate filmic genius. Like he's one of the most important people in
Don't Look Now, right? Did you say Don't Look Now?
Like Don't Look Now. At least 2 or 3 others that are just like game-changing, brilliant films. Like absolutely incredibly important films. And then there's this movie, like in the 80s, he makes a bunch of movies that are like okay, but they're kind of like very Hollywoody, low rent. Like he was just falling off. It just wasn't working for him anymore. But there was this one movie called Eureka, which came out in 83, which bombed when it came out and then just disappeared. Like it was just buried, gone. You couldn't get it anywhere. You can't see it on cable. Like it was just vaporized, right? And there was there's a film critic, what's his name? Famous film critic, sort of rediscovered it, and he says, I saw Eureka and it's fucking mind blowing. It's a crazy movie. And
totally crazy, man.
And he's just like, we have to find a way to get this out there, but it just never was able to come out. A few other filmmakers had talked about it. Like this, Eureka is one of Danny Boyle's top 5 movies of all time.
So
like,
weird.
And it's like, and so like the legend,
so hard to watch.
The
Really?
legend grew for this movie until like I was just like, I'm never gonna get to see this fucking weird. It's like beyond the Magnificent Ambersons. I was like, I wish I could find Eureka, like because it's got Gene Hackman, Rutger Hauer, Mickey Rourke, Teresa Russell,
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci. It is packed to the gills with a weird ensemble, right? And it's directed by this master. Like, what is this movie? How it can't, even if it's, like, what is it? Who knows what it is? And then it finally shows up on TV, like this year, right? And I when I scrolled by and I saw it, I was like, it can't be true. It's here. This is it. And I watched it, and I immediately wrote you guys. I sent it to Eric, and I was like, I bet Eric, you will love this movie.
I really
I'm
dug
sure
it.
Eric. Yeah, it's a total Eric movie.
Like-
And I'm not necessarily saying that it's just the plot is hard to follow.
This is fucking.
It's for people with ADD.
Yeah.
It is a crazy film, and the thing is, like, when I say it's a crazy film, it's not like it's so intense. It is also so intense.
It is.
It barely makes any sense at all. Like it barely makes any sense.
What was the most confusing is that after he was going through it, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I can't understand what's happening in the past, present. Is this about witchcraft? I don't know what's going on, right? And then it's I keep going, and then I realized, oh no, it's based on a true story. I was like, what? And then I just literally flipped the table. It's based on a true story.
What? Want to tell that story?
Do you think there was some "There Will Be Blood" taken from this?
Oh, yeah,
I think there's a lot of
yeah,
freaking LSD taken for this.
Yeah,
That's
well,
for sure.
I would love to. I thought the same thing, Eric. I'm like,
There was
wonder
some
deeply.
moments there where
Yeah.
I think P.T. Anderson grabbed just there's an
Yeah, he
essence
must
to the
love
guy,
this movie.
the
He must
termination
love
of the guy. Yeah,
Yes, he must love this movie. This is very like. Imagine if you like to borrow your line, Chris. Imagine if you were to watch a mid. This is just to describe it for everybody. The experience if you're watching Eureka is if you watched Gene Hackman in a mid '80s made-for-TV Cinemax movie of There Will Be Blood on acid. This is what this is. Like it is so fucking wild. It's
wild.
almost
the big
indescribable.
quote from the movie: "I have never earned a nickel from another man's sweat."
Oh,
They say
man.
that about 25
20
times.
times. Yeah,
times.
easily.
Say it again. I love that line.
And it's fucking great. So,
Never
like,
earn a nickel from another man's sweat.
Not that sweat. And so, okay, to set the stage for this thing, first of all, before you watch this movie, I recommend everyone sees this movie because it's just bananas.
I gotta use the restroom. You step people up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, first of all, this movie, it's going to be extremely hard for you to follow the plot. The acting ranges from incredible, like absolute go for broke incredible, to completely awful, where you're
Yeah.
like, this is
What was the awful for you? Because I'll tell you the awful for me.
Okay, so for me, and now other people debate this because other people think this is incredible. I was just like, the scene, the perfect scene to describe this movie is Teresa Russell on the stand at the end of the movie.
That was
Okay?
it. That was for me.
Like-
it was like, wow, this
Like,
is Hallmark. But
It is such a bizarre idea for a scene, right?
yes, because she was married to him, I think.
Yes.
And they crafted this thing like, hey, this is for you. And
it is such
you
a,
can
like-
showcase your talents. And
Yeah,
then
it's
as soon as
like
they started
they
shooting,
give her
they're
this-
like, I got to get a
They
divorce.
give her this monster monologue, this enormous monologue that is extraordinarily demanding, that if you were the greatest actor in the world, you would have trouble pulling this off. It is in a context which is legally impossible, like,
Yes.
that absolutely would not ever happen.
No.
And the staging of this thing is so fucking bizarre that you're like, who read this and was like, let's roll, let's do this. And like, but even in that, I love that scene. I love that scene because it's such a bizarre mess. So we'll get to that point. But this movie is such it's like riding the best roller coaster you've ever been on into a wall. Like it's so wackadoodle.
And the effects are crazy.
They're crazy. So okay, I'll try to tell the story of this movie quickly, so we can just get to talk about sequence.
I don't know how you. If you do that, I'm going to applaud you. Right.
Super brief. I'll just give you the layout of the movie. Gene Hackman is a prospector in the 1920s. He and again, I'm just going to blow through it. We'll get into the details later. He discovers an enormous amount of gold.
Isn't that what the movie is? Like,
yes.
Look in the details later.
That's exactly right.
Right. So Gene Hackman's
listen to the music and look, she's naked.
The entire movie
later.
in 20 seconds or less. Gene Hackman is a prospector in the 1920s. He finds an enormous amount of gold. He is rich beyond any dream you could ever have all at once. He buys an island in Jamaica. And he builds a mansion there, which is called Eureka, and he has a family, and has everything that he'd ever want, is in utter control of his life, is angry and bored now that he's no longer living an adventurous lifestyle. His daughter is Teresa Russell, who is extremely beautiful, and she is mixed up with this kind of like very rich, very handsome, semi-rich, nowhere near as rich as, not rich enough, exactly. Rutger Hauer, right? And Rutger Hauer is hot as hell in this movie, like crazy hot. And
Blade Runner, Rutger Hauer.
Yeah,
Blade Runner,
he is glorious.
This is
looking.
83. This came out, I think, right?
Yes, and so like they were shooting this probably roughly the same time as Blade Runner, like maybe a little bit before. But anyway, he's incredibly handsome. He's in love with Teresa Russell. Gene Hackman hates that he's in love with Teresa Russell because he only sees Rutger Hauer as someone who's trying to steal all of Gene Hackman, like hack his way into the family and take all his gold.
Hack.
Right, he's the hack man, but so he wants to destroy that relationship as fast as he possibly can. When really, what's going on is that Gene Hackman's sort of assistant and other business people are in cahoots to try to gouge Gene Hackman's money away from underneath his feet with this Meyer Lansky kind of mob character played by Joe Pesci. And
did Joe Pesci's character. What?
I know. What can be said? I don't know.
He's a Jewish weird mobster.
He's Meyer Lansky. He's they renamed him, but he's Meyer Lansky, right?
I understand, but the way he talks is weird. His acting's strange.
His acting is terrible. All-time bad performance.
He came in for a week, got paid, and probably slept with that dark-haired girl that he did a scene with.
He is out to lunch in this movie, man. Joe Pesci is one of the great actors of all time. This is the one time he was like, I'm just gonna suck. I'm gonna be terrible.
Take it.
Well, the writing was so bad.
The
dialogue
so
writing
awkward
was
and confusing.
What the fuck is going on?
It's awkward. It's confusing. Who knows? So that's like they're all
still buy it.
You're into it, right? Like so there's a cabal of evil businessmen that are trying to steal Eureka from Gene Hackman and take all of his money.
Headed by Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke's in on the mix. And so like there's all this plot that's going that makes no sense, very hard to parse what's happening. And meanwhile, you slowly get to see Teresa Russell and Rutger Hauer's romance, and you're like, he really does love her and has like earnest feelings, but he's just like he's in a youthful place in his life where he is trying to get beyond his richness and really experience the truth of life, which he's been held back from the conditions of his birth. Right. And so he's dismissive of Gene Hackman's wealth. He hates wealth, where Gene Hackman, wealth is the only thing that proves that he was a young man at one time. So they're completely opposed. What happens is that the evil cabal succeeds in killing Gene Hackman in the most spectacular and bizarre way possible. Everything is leveraged onto Rutger Hauer.
I think this movie was originally rated X because of the graphic violence.
It is wild. It is wild. Even
especially
just
the beginning of the movie
wild.
where he's walking around and he sees the guy
Oh yeah, let's talk about it separately because I just want to get through the story. Okay, so the evil
Chris,
cabal.
you just jumped ahead.
Yeah, it's terrible. Don't do that.
jumped
Don't we
back,
notice
I jumped
better?
back,
Jump back. So the evil cabal succeeds in killing Gene Hackman, right? And then they frame Rutger Hauer. Rutger Hauer is now on trial for killing Gene Hackman. And then the trial becomes a sort of a trial actually about Rutger Hauer's love affair with Teresa Russell
And the
what that
speech
means
was ridiculous.
Yeah, and utterly ridiculous. We were talking about this
She's
before, just
crying.
right.
They're having a heart-to-heart while he's
hallucinatory.
interrogating.
I know.
Yeah,
While
like
he's interrogating her
representing
on
himself.
Yeah.
And so he's representing himself, and he's got his.
They do it like he's chosen to represent himself.
Yeah,
you know,
so
like
he's
just to kind of
asking
throw
her
that
questions on the stand, and she gives this big speech
Do
about
you
their
love me?
love.
Do you
what's
love
utterly
me? That's his
bizarre.
question to her on the stand. Do you love
Right.
me?
So
Have you
If
all
you
this-
had a password for a bank account, what would that password be?
incredible. So he is, after all of this, he is found innocent because there's not enough evidence against him, and they're set free. He is now living in Eureka with Teresa Russell, and that's when he's just like, she's like, maybe we should just give Eureka away, and has this whole plan, and he's just like, you know what? Peace out. I'm sailing away in a rowboat. Good night. That's the movie. That is the movie. That's the entire plot of the movie. If it doesn't make any sense to you, it never will make any sense to you.
What's funny about the way you just described it, that actually makes more sense than watching the movie, because it took me a long time to watch the beginning of that movie just to
And
tell
go,
you
what's happening?
His prospector days, it feels like he's on a dream quest,
Yes.
like acid
Yes.
trip, but
Yes.
he finds
Yes.
gold, and he literally is.
This is the
exactly
glory of the movie.
Yeah, but that whole thing is like he didn't care about the money; he cared about the pursuit. That is There Will Be Blood.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is that, like, as crazy and janky and broken as this experience is, and man, because while you were away, Eric and I talked about how bad Teresa Russell is on the stand in that scene.
but
And the
she
scene,
is so
the scene is
beautiful.
like, it's such
She-
an
but
awkward,
she's
impossible
trying-
scene.
But the worst part is that you can tell she was trying to be like a powerful
Like, this
actor.
is her heroic scene,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
This is her
it.
Oscar-winning performance.
And then, like,
She,
the scene,
she
like,
wouldn't have gotten the role possibly because she was married to the director.
yeah, exactly. There it is. And so, like,
Might have something to do with it. I'm not saying it did.
and like the scene itself is, she's terrible in it. It's extremely long. It would never ever happen at all in any court of law whatsoever. It's impossible. And the staging of it is so bizarre, where like he's the prosecutor, but he's also in a cage and you're just like, it's a crazy mess. It's a crazy mess.
But the music,
when he tries
and the
to get up from
nudity,
the cage
the
and he's
nudity and the music
Yes.
just keep you going. And I was like, I love this.
The vibe of this movie is so brilliant, and the hallucinatory nature of
It's
it.
so crazy. The
It's
murder of him
beautiful and
was
crazy.
worth the price of admission. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
so bizarre.
It
Absolutely
had a little
wild.
bit when he's coming. The guys are coming after him up the staircase.
Yeah.
It felt like
Yeah.
Scarface.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely, 100%. And so,
Yeah.
like this movie, the more I read into it,
me, you assholes.
many filmmakers.
And there's a guy there with acetylene torches, like
And it-
burning.
Yeah,
Right.
And
They
it was like,
burn
what the
him.
fuck?
So
The
okay,
best is
let's
that poster in the courtroom of Gene
the
Hackman.
burned Gene Hackman. Okay, so
that
let's
would be a great poster to have.
so let's
They didn't do that
pick
for
a scene
promo.
and detail this. Okay, let's say here's the murder of Gene Hackman and talk about what happens in this. So
The
like
bad guys break into his house slowly. One of the guys is holding a flaming torch, right?
Right. No, this is not a blowtorch like you'd see in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. No, rather
Right.
not a flamethrower. This is a blowtorch. So it's sort of just
It's like for cutting metal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like and so
The
like
bad guy walks into I'm just sorry, this one scene I was like, what the fuck? He walks into the window through a curtain. The curtain gets on fire. He just keeps walking. His own clothes gets on fire.
Yeah.
And he just keeps going.
just keep going.
Like what? And he just like does this and he's like, ha, coming to get you. Come on. And he's just holding this torch with him. the whole time.
Yeah.
And other people are holding random blunt objects.
Right. And they start attacking Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman is fighting back. Like you think he might win. Like he's just
He's
like
got
a
a gun or
gorilla.
something, right?
Yeah, he's like, he's fighting them off and all that stuff. And then finally one of the guys gets hits him with a wrench in the head.
Right.
And knocks him out. Or knocks him like
On the bed. Yeah.
Onto the bed. And he's just like, he's awake, but he's motionless. He can't move. And they get him on the bed and they slowly use
Bludgeon him.
They beat him and beat him and beat him. And then they use the blowtorch over every inch of his body for 5 minutes.
Yes. They just slowly burn his body, and you can
And his
see
face
them burning
is melting
his body.
away.
His
And
face,
it's bananas.
And then,
It's
and
bananas.
then they chop his head off.
And then they chop his head off, right? It's a nightmare scene.
It's nuts.
And it's because it's not realistic. It's super dreamy and bizarre.
And the other thing that's funny is like when the daughter is there to identify the body, and you see the body under the sheet,
God,
and she's
Jesus
like, she
Christ.
walks up to the body, and she goes, no, not there, and they take her to another table, separate table. That's where the head is.
so good. It's so good. And the thing's
she
like,
gets there and hugs this head.
it
this
hugs the head.
the
Oh,
decapitated
my God.
head.
You're like this. Like the thing is, if it sounds like I'm
Oh, daddy! And she's holding a decapitated head.
If it sounds like
What
I'm
the
describing
fuck?
my love for this movie as ironic, it is not. Like I am absolutely blown away by these sequences. Like I'm like,
And that
this
guy
is
was from Sexy
visionary.
Beast in the courtroom.
Yeah, and it's like this is like the imagery in this movie is it reminds me of like the imagery in like Apocalypse Now when it's like so many dissolves are happening that you're not even sure what's going on anymore. Like that's the kind of movie this is.
Mm-hmm.
And like that it holds on to any plot at all is the only mistake the movie makes. Like you don't need the plot. You just need these incredible like hallucinatory like gold mining and the river of gold and exploding out through a hole in the ground and like it's fucking amazing. It's just amazing.
That River of Gold, they took the exact same effects team from Superman a few years prior.
Right. So it has that glowy kind of like
the
weird
glowy-
mid-70s look.
yeah.
Just to explain that scene is like it's just filmed in Canada. By the way, the snow scenes were ridiculous. The snow is like so deep and obviously real snow, right? Like obviously you don't stage that. But then he looks down into a cavity, into a crevasse, and then falls in, and then it's clearly a stage from that point forward.
Yeah, but that's where there will be blood.
Absolutely,
Yeah, absolutely.
true.
100%,
Absolutely right.
100%.
And then he takes his pickaxe, and everything is just shimmering in gold, right?
Yeah, it looks like a scene
Like
from
liquid
Legend.
gold.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he takes his
Gold.
pickaxe and he starts picking at this rock, and then the rock just turns into an ocean of gold.
Yeah,
And it
now this is also cross-edited with this maybe death orgasm of the old woman from the brothel.
Yeah.
And so like as he's picking
I
away,
thought she
like
was
she's
like
like
a witch.
"Oh," like this, right?
Is that girl
She
in
is a
the
witch.
fog?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I believe that's true, right? But I mean, she is a witch, and like this is like in Conan, right? When we were watching Conan, it's
Yes.
like when he has sex with the witch. Like this is Gene Hackman having sex with the witch. Like that's what
Right.
this is, right?
And then what the hell was the rock
Called
that he's
witch
holding in his
sex.
hand the whole time that every time he touches it, his daughter has an orgasm?
Yeah, exactly. This is fucking crazy, man. Like this movie
Crazy
is just
stuff.
like this is a lunatic movie. And like the imagery that you get when he is like all but birthed into the world covered in gold is just like that is an all-time image for me. I'm just like I don't give a shit what the movie is.
I had no idea what happened after that whole situation of him burnt, and it looked like he died.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely right.
And
And because
then-
he seems like he dies against the tree,
And
the
they
weird
actually,
sentinel
she
tree.
mentions it at the end of the movie, like he died on that day, right?
Yeah, exactly,
But it looked like he died. And then it's like suddenly there's a Jamaica thing, and you're like, is this I don't understand.
Is it
what
a
happened.
hallucination?
Hallucination, or is this
Is
a
it-
different person? Is this
Right.
before?
By the
is
way,
this a
when they were
flashback? But no, it's a
killing
flash
him,
forward.
they were killing him.
right.
You could hear, and he's burned and cut, and he's like, he's still talking.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's great. Like there's a novelist I love named Roberto Bolaño, right? And he writes books that feel like this, where you're not even sure what the fuck is going on, but the imagery is so primal and overpowering that the less you know, the more powerful it is. Like it's
That's
just
right.
like it's just connecting with you
kinda
in
like
some
our
bizarre
podcast.
way. Yeah, that's what I like to say. But like but this is the beauty in this movie, because like when he is like what the searching for the gold, but like the movie just opens with this helicopter shot diving down on Hackman in this mortal fight with like his former partner, saying like, I never heard a nickel of another man's sweat. You know, and you're like, I feel like I came to the movie late. Like, what is happening? I have no idea. I have no context.
Right? Every time he gets angry, that's what he says.
And sometimes he's not saying it. It's just echoing someplace, right? So it's like this weird dream keeps on happening. Right. And when he gets all the gold, he comes into the town, and everything is semi-frozen, and he walks like he's going to go get the gold measured out, like there will be blood. And there's the guy who is sitting up against the doorway, and he's obviously half conscious, right? And
barefoot, and it's
barefoot,
and it's freezing out. Freezing.
Yeah, freezing out. The guy is almost dead, and he's looking at Gene Hackman smiling like he's gone nuts, right? And they have this weird little interaction. The dude takes a gun and puts it in his mouth and blows his own head off. And it's like
they show the head being blown off.
They show the head being blown off, and his whole skull just erupts with sparks.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It really was. It was very like.
It was actually a really good effect.
Yeah.
It was a great effect.
Gorgeous. I mean, like
this movie cost $11 million in 1983. That's a lot.
That's
of money.
crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty steep. Yeah, right. And the thing is, I mean, like he was obviously on some, like, I don't know if he was on any drugs, but he was definitely on like a big trip to make this movie. He had a vision in mind that he was trying to execute.
Almost Zardoz. I mean,
yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, it's certainly in the broken territory of Zardoz, where you're like, am I enjoying this? Like, what is it? You know. But when it's hitting its stride, and it does at weird moments, I've never seen any other movie like it. So you have like Gene Hackman attacks Rutger Hauer with a butcher's knife, and I'm like, did they just film this and tell Gene Hackman to kill him?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. There's a lot of very threatening things. When he like jumps over things, they're like, whoa, that could have gotten hurt.
This is like bad news. Like, I mean, the movie is so...
And like, it looks like he almost did cut his daughter with the butcher knife.
Oh, yeah. Very definitely. Like Yeah. I mean, you're just like, the movie is so visceral. Like, it's all the imagery is incredible. Like, no matter how dreamlike it is, it's incredibly visceral all the time in a way that like this movie would benefit by having stuff taken out of it so it made less sense.
Or
like
a script?
If this were short, yeah, if it were shortened by about,
it's the dialogue that's so wild.
Yeah. And like, because it's not real. Like, none of it sounds real.
No one talks like that.
Yeah, these are situations that don't happen. Nobody talks like this. And that fits into your dream interpretation. Like, is he in some alternate dream world where this is what naturally happens? You've discovered all the gold. You got what you wanted.
What if he died? What if he really did die in the beginning?
It's very plausible to interpret it that way. And
or he just told them to be like that.
Yeah.
As though you had died and lived and work and do the rest of the movie this way.
Yeah. And it's, if you look at it that way, then it almost makes sense. Like, the movie almost makes sense. I can't say that it works, but when it's working, I've rarely seen a movie like this, and I was just like, it sort of met my expectations plus, because like, if it had been a great movie that was undeniably great, then you could just sort of win with it. You'd be like I watched Eureka and it's amazing, right? And then it would be like Blade Runner and it was like, of course, look at the beautiful object that was buried. But this, you're like, I found parts of Eureka. Like, it kind of fits together, like maybe like this. I'm not sure. Does this look right?
Right.
Like, and it's stunning. It's stunning. And so you have like these like, there's a giant voodoo orgy that happens in this movie. There's like
out of left field too.
Trippy as balls, man.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fucking wild. I don't even know what else to say about the movie except that, like, if you plug into this movie, it's like pure cinematic cocaine. Like, that's the only explanation. It actually
was nominated for a cinematography award.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, it's beautiful. It is beautiful.
It's weird.
It's a very beautiful movie. It's just like, it's not cinematography in terms of like, we're shooting this so that it edits.
No. No.
This movie does not cut well.
Yeah. And the drunk mother was pretty interesting.
I thought, watching this, I was like, what if you took this and Dirty Dancing and try to cut the two together? It would be like,
I had the time of my life.
It would just
I never earned a nickel for another man's sweat.
Gene Hackman just goes full Gene Hackman on it too. It's just hilarious.
This is within the domino principle kind of zone.
And this is
I was like, this is going to be a point we have to bring up domino principle on this one.
He is in a special place in this movie, man. Like I think he thinks he is making the movie that I receive it as, right? And he is. But there is also another movie in between that is going to be hard for most people to appreciate. And like, where you're like, it's sort of somewhere lost between like The Dark Crystal and There Will Be Blood and, like weird, bad high school play.
It's just everything that how they say things, like, and Joe Pesci's character is the perfect example of everything just sounding. Strangely,
so
I felt like it was written by ChatGPT, like in the dialogue itself.
Exactly.
Like it's like
exactly.
Well, I guess no, people don't actually talk like that.
ChatGPT, do humans sound like this?
No, what? I mean, you made a sentence that makes sense, but that's not.
But
that's not the right way to say it.
There is something really beautiful about it, like the music and the score, and you're into it, and I don't know how to explain that.
It was hard for me, I have to say.
Oh, I totally get it. Like, there's no way to say that this is a good movie that people should see.
No,
it's like it's too slapdash.
It's an entertainment to watch.
Filmmaker's film.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I can see why directors in particular talk about this movie so
absolutely,
because
it's
like you're like
reference.
This is brilliant, this is great, this is visionary. Yes. But it is a giant pile of stuff. Like there's no way around that. And it's not like it's not coherent.
There are a ton of mistakes in this film.
Yes, 100%.
And one of them is really hard to keep your attention.
Yeah. And it gets so fucking confusing, and by the time you get to the court scene,
really,
like you're like, I don't even know what, like the trial was about Gene Hackman was murdered, but somehow now it's about, but do I truly love and believe in such? And you're just like, what?
Yeah, and the judge is like, what?
That was the big cringe, just the whole courtroom stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was engaged.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely worth seeing. I think the best thing to do for people is like, if you haven't seen Nicholas Roeg films, go see a bunch of Nicholas Roeg films, because there's other stuff that's inarguably brilliant, right? But like the way in which this is broken is sort of the other side of the way that Man Who Fell to Earth works. Like Man Who Fell to Earth almost doesn't work, but it stays just
still meandering dream.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like Man Who Fell to Earth is this movie only without anything to mess it up. Like it's like you watch Man Who Fell to Earth and you don't know what's happening. It's very confusing, but it's so mesmerizing that it holds together until it finally ends in a coherent and beautiful way. And this one never pulls that off. So I can see what he was trying to do, but the reins slipped out of his hand. But if you see Man Who Fell to Earth, Walkabout, or Don't Look Now, you'll get the rhythm of how his mind works as a director, and you'll see more clearly what he's attempting with Eureka. And Eureka is the last movie that he made that is really compelling. Everything
and
after
he
that
passed
is sort of
like a couple years ago, right?
Yeah. He's a visionary director for sure. But you can tell with this movie like how hard it is to hold on to that. And I feel like you watch it and you're like, man, if you just like tightened it up, did one more pass on that script, and then really held it together,
and then not have his wife in it,
and not have his wife in it. Yeah, I think that may have been a big problem.
I think that was probably a problem. Even though I would, it's easy to fall prey to that because she was beautiful.
Oh yeah. I mean, she's gorgeous. She's gorgeous, and the thing is, she's actually good when she's with Hauer, like in all the other scenes. Oh
yeah.
I mean, she's beautiful. Yeah. They're sexy together. It's like she's, it all works incredibly well. But it's absolutely worth it just to see all the elements that work completely unlike any other movie that you will ever see. and so it's very much a film class movie. But I can't imagine people that listen to this show in particular, especially when I go on a long string of bullshit like this. If you're into it, you'll definitely see what we're talking about. Like, there's stuff
would
to
be really
fucking
great is if like Delta Airlines just snuck it in to one of their like the rounds of
It's in the rotation.
in-flight movies.
Rango,
Eureka.
Eureka.
People are like,
Kung Fu
oh,
Panda
My
and
dog
Eureka.
Skip.
I love Gene Hackman. And then there's all this like orgy and shit.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute.
If you liked Unforgiven, you'll love Eureka.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would
maybe
be
not.
That would be great. That would be totally worth. And there's that
man.
one person who pressed it. You know, I don't understand this. Please, sir, put your belt on. We're going to be landing soon. I don't understand the movie, sir. Get back into your seat. But the movie makes no sense, sir.
Why
Put your seatbelt on. The captain has put this no seatbelt sign. The seatbelt sign on.
Oh God. Yeah, but that's it, man. Like, I think that there's like,
It's kind of like when I watched Babylon on the plane
oh yeah,
on Lufthansa, and I'm like,
God.
it was funny because it was all just blurred, like
Something you see Brad Pitt's
blurry
face
blobs
peeking
everywhere.
out
It's like,
this.
how did they convince? I think it was
Yeah, how do you do
United or
this?
Lufthansa, whatever, to allow this movie to happen. It's like, yeah.
Oh God, man. But I mean, that's the thing. This is what I'm also expecting, by the way, out of Francis Ford Coppola's new movie, Megalopolis, right? Which comes out this year. And they just had a screening.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I
saw
heard.
that.
For execs. And apparently, like, got a standing ovation, and everyone thought it was great, and Coppola cried, and it was all a great time. But everything that's said about this movie, it's just like, people are like, so is it any good? And people are like, oh, that's such a simple question. It's beyond
Okay, that's
being
bad.
good. And I'm just like, what is it?
Are you celebrating Coppola, or is it really a good
Yeah,
movie?
exactly. What is this movie?
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
Good.
I think
What's good mean?
what does good really mean when works of art, and you're just like, oh, okay, hang on.
Mhm.
So like, what I'm expecting out of Megalopolis is very much a Eureka.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like I think, and
This is your Eureka moment.
the Eureka moment for Coppola. And the thing is, if it is, I'm totally fucking there for that. Absolutely, because
Sure.
if he delivers like a absolutely batshit crazy, half-assed, cobbled together mess that is occasionally Coppola level brilliant, absolutely,
I think
absolutely.
it's probably. I can't see him as a visual effects director.
no.
I am just saying that you and I, Eric, we worked on Stealth together, and we sat.
Stealth.
We-
Whoa.
We
It's
sat
just like
in
Flash
a room
Gordon.
at the mixing stage theater at the Sony lot with Rob Cohen. And we brought in some executives to watch the movie, got us high, and we watched the movie there.
That's a great way to watch Stealth.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And the executive looked at him and he goes, "That was amazing. Oh my God, that was so great."
Yeah.
So that's what executives say at
Yeah.
screenings
Yeah.
to directors. So that's,
Sure.
if Stealth gets that attention, then it sounds like Megalopolis
Man,
got that attention.
now
too.
first of all, I like watching Stealth on edibles sounds like a really good movie.
There was no
That-
edible. The edible we had, it was a PP party, pizza and pot.
Oh, there you go, dude. Like that's it. Like that's the idea. Because actually, I saw Stealth maybe 7 months ago now, which because I
What?
believe it was on Tubi. It was on. I think it's on Tubi now. As a matter of fact.
Why? What
And-
happened to you?
Like this, like that is a really fucking fun, stupid movie. Like
Yeah.
beyond
Oh,
stupid.
yeah.
And
It's
now
like-
everyone's
stupid.
talking about. So I got to tell you this funny. I needed to get some super glue, and there's a hobby store near us here, and in Burbank where they sell model airplanes and all that other little hobby stuff, and they have a big selection of different kinds of super glue, which I needed to get different kinds of glue.
Oh.
No, I needed to get it for flying for time flies.
Jacqueline, Jacqueline.
Sure.
And so, Jacqueline, and so, but the guys were in the store and they were at the register. It's like you have the two old guys that are doing things. They're talking. It's like, well, what's weird? It's like they've got this airplane now that's flying itself around there. Man, didn't they make a movie about that back in the early 2000s? And they started talking about it, and then they said, yeah, it's called Stealth. And he goes, that's so strange. It's like, I worked on that movie. And then he says, what? There was another crazy movie that was insane. It was this blimp at high altitude that would refill these airplanes. Like, that's the same movie. It's called Stealth.
Still Stealth.
And they were like, that is a crazy movie.
Wait a minute. Then there was another movie with Jamie Foxx.
That's the same movie.
Still
It's called
Stealth.
Same movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
man.
funny that it came up, and I was like, yeah. And I think they were talking, it was like, because they were all like, AI is crazy and it's going to kill us all. It's like, that's Stealth.
That is still Stealth. Yeah.
Still
No,
Stealth.
like I just put Stealth for free in the Twitch stream. People should check that out. That movie, that is a genuinely bad movie. That's extremely dumb. But I can't say it's not fun. That is a fun movie. Like, that is a good, not even a B movie. That is a C movie.
I didn't even think that was fun.
Oh man. Well, you guys were close to it. I didn't get to work on it, so now I can just sit back and
It
laugh.
was crazy. You didn't have to sit next to Scott Metzger and work on that
Oh,
movie.
did
but
not,
you know what
no.
I used to do on that, and I remember that because we were
Love you,
America
Scott.
was in a stupid war. I would be down the
Yeah,
hall.
we were.
down
This
the-
was the second time around on Iraq War, right?
second time around, and Metzger would be working. Everyone's typing away, and I would see Metzger, and he'd kind of give me a look, like, "You okay?" And I'd go up and walk between him and Chris, and be like, "Are you following what's going on in Iraq?" And he'd be like, "Dude, don't get me started." And then Chris would pipe in, and I would just walk right back to my seat. And these guys are arguing over the war, and it was little bombs.
He like, just put in context, it's things he would say when he found out I was born in Cairo. He said, "I'm a terrorist."
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And he also said the solution to Iraq is to turn it into a glass parking lot.
Parking garage. And then I would ask
And
him
you're
that,
like,
and
Scott,
then
that
walk
would terrible.
away.
You can't park on
I
glass.
would
It doesn't
walk
work.
away. I would walk away, and they would be arguing, and Hansi would look at me like,
Why did you do that? And I'm like, yeah, I just couldn't, like, and I couldn't stand how he would just diminish everything. It was like, yeah.
"Oh, you get them started." It was
funny.
golden.
Yeah, those are the good old days.
Yeah, Eric would lay these
good
little
on this.
bombs out to make just Metzger say some ridiculous stuff, and I would just go, "Rah!"
That's
You'd roll
amazing.
your eyes at first, and then you'd get.
I just
you know
couldn't
what,
handle it
Scott?
anymore, and then I would just
can't-
go-
You're an no, right? He would keep his mouth shut and just sit there and roll his eyes. Finally, he would just burst. Like, "I can't take it anymore. No,
I've never earned a nickel off another man's sweat. I truly hope that everybody in chat watches this movie, just so when this comes up,
Which
the other
one, Stealth or
Eureka.
Yeah.
So that when we use this as a catchphrase later on,
Oh, it's going to be used for ages. Ages.
it's too good, man. It's too
Yeah.
good. Yeah. So this is our big plug for Tubi. Obviously, Tubi, you're welcome to pay us for us. But like the
Or maybe put an ad up for Martini Giant during the
put up
breaks.
an ad for Martini Giant. That's all we need.
We should be Tubi centric and just review all Tubi movies and
dude,
cut a
like-
deal with them.
To be
Okay,
sure.
To be sure.
Oh.
Okay. So under, like, for
Yeah.
instance, like I'm looking at Tubi right now, just off the top of Tubi under modern classics, available for free. You have Aguirre, Wrath of God, The Long Goodbye, Henry V, The Man Who Would Be King, and The Passenger. That's the top line of Tubi for free. All of those movies are fucking 5 stars. All of
Yes.
them. Blue
There are ad
Velvet,
breaks,
In the
you should
Loop,
tell.
Audition, Dr. Zhivago, Point Blank, Thunderbolt, and Lifefoot.
Yay!
It's insane. It's insane. For free, all of them right now.
Yes.
And in between all that is mountains of crap that
Oh, yeah.
they won't even recognize the titles, and you're just like, I don't
Shows,
know
whatever.
what. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, but every now and again,
What's
I'm
funny
like,
is there's
I'm
also
like Gene
you-
Hackman out there.
Have
just
you guys
picking away.
created? Have you guys created a Tubi account?
I have, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I haven't on purpose, just because
Yeah.
I'm just like, what the? Because it doesn't
What
know
will
who
it
I
give
am.
me? Yeah,
So
exactly.
it'll
It's
just
gonna
throw me
shit.
random shit all
Yeah,
the time.
absolutely
Because
random crap.
you can watch Tubi without creating an account. They encourage you to create an account because then it'll keep the movie. It'll remember who you are, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera. And then it'll like, oh yeah, or you can continue watching this film or whatever it is. But really, they just want to recommend more crap to you so you can keep watching Tubi. But I'm just like, what is it? It doesn't know who I am. So it's like,
Yeah,
who is
if you don't
generic
know it,
Joe,
what- yeah.
Joe Blow?
Yeah. What
and
are you
who
gonna
is it-
give
What
me,
is I
man?
recommending to that person?
But, well, like, for instance, like right now I'm looking at it. It has Joe with Peter Boyle, right? It has
That's great.
$1 Billion Brain, one of the Harry Palmer movies,
What?
with Michael Caine.
Does it have a man
Oh
with 2
my
brains?
God.
It does not have the Man with 2 Brains. I looked the other night. They don't have
That's
that
the
yet.
Ipcress file, the second one?
That's the second one. Yeah, I believe that's the second one. And
I
it's
got to
fucking-
watch. I love those films.
Dude, it's fucking just, it's jam packed. And so, yeah, when you get like I said, I'm like Gene Hackman out in the mountains chipping away. I will find stuff and I'll post about it on Tubi, but expect to find the weirdest, most beautiful, random shit on this thing. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm so happy I saw
also
Eureka.
interesting to me, honest, is Canopy is putting some schlocky film. Canopy used to be pretty,
nice. Yeah, it used to be
pretty
highbrow.
schlocky. Yeah, it's not as much.
Yeah, because this is my problem, right? It's like I still have
What's
Criterion.
your problem?
I still have Criterion. It's still valuable enough for me to keep paying for
I
it.
quit Criterion.
I
You're
quit
wise.
Criterion. I
But
can't.
Criterion is
One is I can't. I've got too much stuff. And then when they did
stuff.
that, when they did what they did to French Connection, I was like, all right,
Yeah,
this
fuck
is my,
you.
this is my
Exactly.
way to just.
I'm glad. Yes, thank you for standing up for that because that's unacceptable.
They asked me why
as
I
film.
quit, and I told them because of that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's
Did
very
they respond?
strong. I stand behind.
They did. They said, "I'm so sorry. We'll get you a new version right away."
Yeah. Don't worry. Yeah. Gene Hackman. Here he is. 98.
Popeye uses
I
the
thought-
word all the time.
I've been flagged by Pinterest in the past month a lot, and it's just like I used to be able to write letters. I don't even waste my time because they don't get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I have nudity, it doesn't mean it's pornographic. It's just a photograph of a woman naked by a famous photographer.
Yeah,
And I get flagged. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. This is the zone we're in right now.
It's
just the zone.
You know what's really weird is on Instagram. So I try to sort of take on different personas depending on what social media platform I'm on.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So my Instagram
like Superman.
persona.
Is this Dress to Kill, Michael Caine?
Yeah, my Instagram
nice.
persona is all about fly fishing, right? So and so, what's strange is that Instagram is so targeted to me.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And that now they vary amongst the targeting depending on what I post. So if I post a specific kind of fly, they start posting more posts about that kind of fly or that kind of fishing.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So it's like, oh, you seem to be interested in bass flies. So they send me more pictures of bass flies, which is like amazing.
That's specific.
Before it was like, oh, here's some streamer flies that you like, or here's some nymphs. There's like, it is so specific that it really like, wow, whatever that algorithm is, it's just crazy.
Oh yeah, because now if you signed up for Tubi, if you signed up for Tubi, it would be nothing but river runs through it. Nothing.
Only if I took on that persona, because
exactly right.
In other places it's different, right? So yeah, it's very very strange.
But yeah, I'm gonna put this one in the chat. I was just scrolling through. I found this. This is a movie that I would love Martini Giant to cover that I don't think you guys have seen, and you want to talk about. You think that fucking Eureka is wacky? Wait till you see Winter Kills.
Oh, that was so funny because, when I was playing Eureka, right, it ended Eureka and it started playing Winter Kills.
Winter Kills.
Yeah.
See Winter Kills. See Winter Kills.
Yeah.
Winter Kills is fucking amazing. Amazing. Like, that is like, Winter Kills is like, okay, you know how, like, when you watch Parallax View, you're like, this is some wacky shit that's happening in this movie.
Right.
Imagine if you thought that Parallax View was like absolutely stone cold documentary about reality.
Right.
And then you hit Winter Kills. Winter Kills.
William Reckner is the director. Jeff Bridges, John Huston, Anthony Perkins,
cast.
Eli Walsh.
Yeah. Huge cast. Huge
Sterling
cast.
Hayden, Dorothy Malone, Thomas. What the fuck?
It is, very few people have seen this movie. And
1979.
there's only two reactions. John Huston, only two reactions is either you will love it or you will stop watching it. Like, that's the only two ways it goes. It is a very, very dark
I've seen this movie.
satire. It's a
Young
satire.
brother of assassinating U.S. president. Okay, I think I've seen this movie. I'll watch that.
It is a fucking miracle of science, this movie. There's no other movie like Winter Kills.
So
it is
I want to make sure
outlandish.
that you guys also realize that when I said, like, Eureka, it's just so hard to follow.
Oh, I hear you, man. Like, it's legit to say that Eureka is a bad movie. If people are like, that's a bad movie. It is. I can see that.
Contextually, let's put it this way. I had to watch this movie for this podcast. as you guys all know, I have a lot of shit going on, and I'm like, I have to squeeze it in between meetings with
how much Joe Pesci do I have to sit through here?
Right. Like I got to squeeze in this movie between all the shit I'm doing and all the meetings and talking to different highbrow people that I'm going through. On. And then suddenly like, okay, I got to watch this movie. I'm like, what the? And I didn't have. So I think the reason I was upset about it is that I didn't have the time to relax and enjoy the crazy ride. Instead, it was just like frustratingly. I don't have time
because there's nothing to grab onto in that movie at all. There's nothing to grab onto. It is like, and I think that
Karen
it's good.
Was laughing at me. It was like, it's just really hard to watch this movie right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is a movie that if you're in the right headspace, it's incredible. But if you're not, it's the hardest of hard rides. It's a chore and a half. Like, first of all, don't even try to understand.
Ever be in the right headspace?
This is like
nice. I don't think. I think he's partially in the right headspace now. I think he's halfway there now.
Oh, I'm enjoying it. No, this is this is the thing, right? This is what Karen also told me. It's like, don't worry. By the time you get around to doing it on the podcast, you'll love the movie, and she's right.
And to back you up even further, right? My favorite horror movie of all time, already said it, is Don't Look Now.
And you hated
which
it
is by this director.
Yes.
First time I saw it, fucking hated it, couldn't stop complaining angrily about it. Yeah. So this naturally happens with this guy.
Absolutely.
This is what it is. Yeah.
Totally get it. And I'm sure that I will watch it again and enjoy it. And again, like I said, a lot of times I enjoy the process of talking about movies like this with you guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes more than watching the movies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, I think that it puts, because like now whenever you get to see even any part of this again, like it will be enjoyable just because it's enjoyable to fucking talk about this thing. Like it's just a crazy thing to have seen and to share.
And to me also, like, I've been wanting to share Les Walseuses
which is brilliant
with you guys for years. And like, how am I going to, because it was like one of those impossible to find movies, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that like of the two of them, that is that's it's interesting because one with Eureka, I can't recommend Eureka because it's not a complete movie. Like it's just not a movie. It's just a bunch of fascinating shit. It's just incredible, but there's a lot you have to fucking work with.
It's an experience. Yeah,
it's an experience. So like, if I recommend it to people, they're gonna be like, "What the fuck was that, dude?" Like. With Going Places, I can't recommend it because people may never talk to me again. Not because it's a bad movie. It is a great movie. It's a legitimately great movie.
Right.
But it is
But it's like saying, I do remember, but you and I were working on a short thing a couple of years ago, and it was an actress we were talking to. We were talking about movies, and we were talking about like, oh, Bad Boy Bubby, and we're talking about it's really interesting, and then she's like, oh, I'll have to check it out, and we're like, no, don't look at that movie.
Let's reel that in.
I don't know you enough, and you're gonna have really bad thoughts of who I am.
You will make some very big assumptions about me if you continue along those lines.
So that's why I was saying to Richard, I was like, I think I have to know you better before I recommend that movie, and he says, yeah, that's the kind of movie you have to.
100% fair. Mm-hmm. I think that's exactly fair. So yeah, like and when we put things out on Twitter and whatnot that we recommend that we feel are a little bit risque, we will let people know. But we don't want to not cover this stuff because I think it's unfortunate that we happen to be societally in a place where people can't get beyond their first blush reactions to things instead of having a deeper, much better experience if you hang on, and I think that's where that movie goes in particular. I'm just like, this movie requires that you hang on in order to have the full experience. And most people won't be able to do that. But if you do, it's really transformative. It's really powerful. I thought it was a great film.
Right. Yeah. And I think, we've mentioned it a million times in the podcast, all of us, is just because we like that movie doesn't mean we condone the behavior of the characters in that movie. And somehow I don't know why that has become a thing.
Yeah, I feel like I feel this is true.
By you liking a movie is basically say, I embrace what's happened in this movie and I accept it as this is my persona.
I think that we have, I think that all of us have become that media is how we communicate. We
identify with,
and we use it as a way to, like, everything we say that we like is essentially like putting up, this is the photograph of me on Instagram.
Right.
And so you're just
My
like
favorite movie is this movie. Oh, that means you like to yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
they
Statutory
then,
immediately
rape and
judge
all
you
that
by that.
yeah, and there people just use that as a sketch of you as opposed to, I don't know, talking to you. You
Yeah.
know,
And in fact,
finding
there's
anything deep.
nothing that I like about any of these guys.
Yeah, it's fucking hard. These are horrible people.
Horrible people.
But
But
that's part of what the movie is doing.
That's the movie. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
point of the movie.
And so like I think it's like no one is being shallow on purpose, where I think that everyone is just scared to be associated with people that will be put on the outs. So you don't want to be seen as part of the wrong club. So
Mhm.
when you see a movie might put you in the wrong club, people distance themselves from it immediately and reinforce the idea of the club. And I think that is unhealthy.
Club rules.
Yeah, I think it's unhealthy, and I think it's
It is.
it's very. You're
Is there
missing.
any way back? That's the question.
I think so, because there's plenty of periods of time where this is true, and then you end up in the 70s watching Going Places anyway. Like there was the Victorian era, and we still got to the 70s and ended up making Going Places. So like,
Well, yeah,
you know.
but there's a bunch. This is the one moment that, and I didn't always like. What's the Woody Allen movie Paris?
Oh yeah,
I like that movie.
I love it, and I'm gonna love it for the same reasons. I can't think of the name. Midnight in Paris.
Midnight in
Great,
Paris.
great movie.
And I didn't like it because it was so steeped in nostalgia. Until we have that line,
Yeah,
you guys know how I feel about nostalgia. Until we have that line where he goes to the past and then he's like, yeah, well, every time we're in this past, we're nostalgic for another past. And we keep going. Every time you go like, oh,
Yep.
now
You always
you're
think.
nostalgic for the 1920s. And then we're nostalgic for the Belle Epoque. And then we're nostalgic for it's they're always nostalgic for different eras.
yeah,
Which is essentially like, I feel that we're almost, the three of us sometimes get set in that trap for the 1970s films.
Oh yeah, like I don't think I think that the 1970s I think there's a greater percentage of great films than most other periods.
I
However,
agree.
it's false to say that only the 1970s has special films, which is what most people like. That's
That
the
is
caricature of
true.
what
It's
happens.
It's a different
right?
type of empathy. There's just a different type of.
There's a
I don't know,
particular
there was
there's a particular
edginess to
energy
it.
about 70s
Yeah.
films that becomes
Yeah.
iconic, right?
It's
That's
very rock and
good.
roll.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And I think that I can say a lot of great things about the 2010s. I can say that about the 90s. I can say that there's
For
plenty
sure.
of great periods.
And we
yeah.
do celebrate new modern films as well.
absolutely.
Or contemporary films. But I think what we keep bringing back about the 70s is like how much we feel that we've regressed.
Yeah, there's an attitude in the 70s because I was
We're
talking
not
about,
as progressive as we were back then.
well, what I feel is that especially the left is actually very conservative right now.
Very.
They believe they're progressive when actually they're extremely regressive and very conservative. And because I was talking about probably my favorite Woody Allen movie of all time is Manhattan, and the question is like, how would you like that movie? It's about him sleeping with a 17-year-old. I'm just like, okay, aside from whatever you think about Woody Allen and whatever did or didn't happen with him, so I put that on the side. The movie is built around a concept of you should love art as completely as you absolutely can, even if everyone around you tells you not to love it, and you should be ashamed of yourself for loving that thing. That's the argument of the film. And so what the movie does is Woody Allen is in love with Mariel Hemingway, right?
Yeah.
And so Tracy, that character, represents art. Like, and everyone in the movie is just like, how can be dating that, that 17? I mean, everyone in the movie is criticizing for this. Like, it's not like the movie is celebrating this. Everyone in the movie is criticizing him for this. And you should stop doing this and date an adult like Diane Keaton. And so he dumps Tracy and goes out with Diane Keaton. And Diane Keaton's entire point of view is essentially the internet's point of view about all great art, which is just like, I think all these people are overrated. Let me tell you how much better it is to incredibly unknown.
She's
just
obnoxious.
she's an obnoxious fucking jerk who's actually incredibly self-conscious and incapable of loving anything for real.
Mm-hmm.
And Woody Allen goes through that and comes back around to realizing his love for Tracy. What he's saying is, I'm making a movie in which you, the audience, is uncomfortable with this relationship. Like, this is wrong of me to do. However, my argument is that you must love what you love, even when you are told by everyone else that it is wrong to do so.
Yeah.
And
It's interesting that you say that, because
the-
one of my favorite Woody Allen films, or probably my favorite, is actually Deconstructing Harry. And it's a similar,
exactly. Yeah,
but that one's
exactly.
much more self-deprecating.
Yeah, he's
much
very
yeah.
angry with himself in that.
He's very
movie.
angry with
exactly.
himself with that one.
But
yeah.
the truth of that idea of just like, because when you're on social media and talking about art of any kind, books, movies, whatever, like 99% of the people there are they spend their entire day trying to tell other people that they're wrong to love things. And the
stop it, you're wrong.
yeah, and yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
this is almost all of the dialogue about everything. All right. And the reason why people do that is it makes them feel safer to like the correct things, so they won't be put on the outs. And it is such a unhealthy relationship.
It's a circle that goes around and around.
And it isolates you, and it makes you, and it puts you in a position to worship mediocrity, and to have an experience with art that does nothing but
Thank you.
fill you with empty, useless garbage. You know,
Which we are at in this
and
world.
so like I'm, and that doesn't mean like I love, like, you know, fucking whatever. There's Marvel films that I love, all that stuff. But like when you get to the point when you are telling people that they are bad because they like a certain movie, like I'm just gonna look at, oh, you like whatever, pick your poison, Fight Club. Oh, he likes Fight Club. I guess that he is part of this group, and these are people that we don't like, so we don't watch those movies, and that's bad, and these people are bad. Like, you're fucked. If that's how you think, you're fucked, and you will live an empty life. That's it.
Which is my problem with the thing I like Levi says.
That's it, man. This movie is a beautiful movie with a beautiful point that really engages you and challenges you to see things in yourself that are good.
I actually think that Get Out Your Handkerchiefs does it even more. Like, that one's a much more powerful film.
Yeah, that's
right?
an e-ticket ride version. Yeah,
and this one is more adolescent and more ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is also fun. Get Out Your Handkerchiefs is brilliant. I think that's the reason it's so celebrated, because it's obviously way more taboo, right? But it also not necessarily as misogynistic as
it's like, I think that it, like I said, like I think it's the better film of the two. I think it's a little bit easier for people to see that first than Going Places. Going Places is, to me, a little more challenging because it's not so artful.
Right.
Because it's, and so like, I think that I would say that though Going Places isn't as good, what you get out of Going Places, you're not really going to be able to get to unless you see the other one first. I think Get Out Your Handkerchiefs is you'll see it in the proper context, because that it sets itself up that way. It makes its point clearly.
That movie would
and
just
then,
be wildly canceled as well.
instantaneously.
Could you make Eureka today?
I think it would be hard to get the money.
You can put it straight to YouTube, though. I mean,
yeah. Like, the thing is, I think that I think that movie. This is a little bit of a sadness. I think that.
What if we remade it shot by shot?
Yeah,
as a martini giant film.
Do a Psycho. Yeah. Like Gus Van Sant's Eureka. That'd be amazing.
Just shot for shot.
But like that, like I think that like there very few. I think the reason why Eureka doesn't happen today, or rarely happens anytime.
They have script readers now.
It's because yes, and that's actually true. This is true, because there's too many layers of professionalism in between the artist and the execution.
I have a feeling that the first movie made with Sora will be Eureka.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
Like, totally crazy. Like, wait, that didn't make any sense. Like, it makes enough sense.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Put it out there.
You can't write a prompt with another man's sweat.
Yes, exactly. I never exactly. That's it, dude. But yeah, I love both of these movies. I'm gonna watch both of them many times. I'm very pleased that we found them. And though it's a rarity on Martini Giant to go like full on unknown, I'm glad that we did for the birthday party, because these are special movies. I think these are
this podcast is probably not going to get as many views because no one's
goes.
going to know these titles. The ones that get more views are the ones that are like, oh, that's a movie. That's a
What if we just lied and said, oh, we're going to talk about
Titanic 2.
Titanic.
Titanic. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about the sequel to Beetlejuice. I was like,
Beetlejuice. I didn't even watch the trailer. I couldn't do it.
I watched the trailer.
I was just like, oh, no.
Did you see the Onion article about it?
No.
It was the best. They said they were going to be authentic film and they're not going to use any CGI and they're going to use real possessions.
Oh, man.
No CGI is going to be used in this film. It's all real possessions.
Real demons.
Real demons.
That's pretty funny. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The script super. Yeah.
Yep.
We actually have to talk about script supervising.
Oh, yes.
For other things.
For other actual things that are happening, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was lovely, though. That was very lovely.
Yeah, guys. Awesome. Yep. Thank you, Eric, for indulging us on our birthday. What would you like to do for your birthday? You now have several months to plan for it. Big bash, Eric celebration.
I think that you should do something like the Decalogue that we have to watch like 10 hours.
No, it's gonna be something like what is the one that I like? It's called
Buffalo 66.
No, Edie.
The
German.
Man
of Fear. Edie. Man of Fear.
Oh no, Ollie Fear It's the Soul.
Yeah,
that's a good fucking movie. Woo-wee. I'm a big Fassbender fan.
Yep.
He's terrific.
We'll do that. Love that.
That's a great film. Talk about a beautiful, poignant movie, man. That is a great film. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, something like that would be cool.
But if you want to go Fassbender, we could do...
Let's do a Fassbender thing.
Fassbender, man. Fucking amazing. And very little known today. You know, like...
How strange is that?
Yeah, like that guy's a genius. Genius. The Marriage of Ava Braun, you know, like all that shit's fucking outrageous. Absolutely great. This is what I think you should ask for a Decalogue, do a double feature of maybe Satan Tango and Berlin Alexanderplatz. And so we have to do like 25 hours of movie watching. That would be amazing. First one's Bellatar, but yes, it's I would definitely do that. No, Berlin Alexanderplatz is amazing. If no one knows who Fassbender is, I bet there's some on Tubi. I'm gonna look it up.
He was in The Killer.
Which I just rewatched and laughed my ass off. Amazing film. I'm gonna look this up right now live. Of Ava Braun. Okay, we don't have. Okay, I'll keep an eye out. That's a movie that a filmmaker I would love to make popular again. Be The Power of Martini Giant.
Yeah,
he is really something. Really something.
That's a really beautiful movie.
Oh, it's incredible.
Out in the cafe and everybody's watching.
So beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, we've gone through these. I think it was good. Very exciting. Thanks for indulging us, guys.
That was lovely. Yeah, and the links for both of these movies you can watch for free on Tubi. I put in the Twitch chat stream, so yes, go on and click them and check them out. At least watch the first 20 minutes of Eureka just to show how fucking crazy it is. Oh my god,
that's the one. That's the best part of the what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, watch until the dude blows his own head off. That by itself is an amazing short.
Yeah, that's a really good practical effect. Like it.
Yeah, it's just great. Just great.
It was really cool.
What's the head blowing up?
Famous it's like the scanners.
Scanners, right? It makes scanners look like a silhouette.
It totally felt like it was the same visual effects crew that did The Thing.
Yeah, right. Because there's something like it doesn't. It's not that it looks real. It looks beautiful and sculptural.
Yeah. It's the same
really,
type
really
of
lovely
artisan that did the stuff for The Thing with the dog and everything.
Yeah, it's not a look at how believable that effect is. It's more like look how elegant and strange that is. Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Much like on The Room. The specularity on that guy's chest because he was on roids.
Hell yeah. Zing.
Right?
Perfect.
Do you remember that?
That's right.
You're killing me.
You're killing me. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi, Mark. I didn't do it. I didn't hit her. Oh, well, what can you do? We won't be covering The Room in this show. I think that's been done.
Right.
All right.
All right. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Drink.
Talk.
Drink.